さあどうもこんにちは本でございます。ALGS、EMEA ヨーロッパ地域 Day8 残り2日ですね。残りラスト2の残り2を見ていきましょう。昨日配信したね、パクノス日本韓国のねアジア地域の生放送がですね、再生回数僕のチャンネルの中で歴代1位になりました。どうもありがとうございます。今日も更新できるように頑張っていきます。ヨーロッパなんですけども、1アライアンスファイ、これあれだね。A、B、C を載せて欲しかったね、ここね。A と B が2試合多いです。C が2試合少ないです。で、これで言うと多分、どこかはわからんけど、C はもっと伸びていくって感じですね。もうわかんないものはしょうがないので。早速1試合目見ていきましょう。おそらく A と C かな今日は。
When they just landed split at wall with Kashera extending out towards those buildings to the west of High Point where Outplayed lands in Outpoint. That's going to be so dynamic for them. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's definitely changing the rotation significantly. I will say that you have transformed your position basically straight up, and so the rotations when you come into the edge of the map are going to be that different. This is throwing a wrench into a sense play specifically though, and Bitfix Gaming have the benefit of having the survey beacon right next to them as well, so a little bit of extra information before they leave the POI.
A に関しては最後っていうところからね、さすがにもう初動でポイントをなくすってことはしたくないということで、初動かぶりなしですね。アンチャチェックポイントですね。ガチガチのチェックポイント。さあ皆さんもねこの放送ね、もう何回もEMEA に関しては5回目になりますので、すでに4回見てらっしゃるということはどこの辺が強そう、どのチームが今上位かなってのは分かっているかなと思います。メタとかね、キャラピックとかもなんとなく分かってきてますでしょうか。どうでしょうか。僕全く分かりませんけど、決勝狙ってますね。上手。ちゃんと決勝狙ってるんだね。さあ 2R1C はね上位チームですね。ダウンズビーストを取ってます。ダウンズビーストアクションの時は、上からひたすらチャーライ等々を打ってですね守ってますね。ダウンズビーストが多分最終には入らないでしょうけども、ひとまずキープをするとアーマーも強いですし、レプリケーターもありますので相当物資が潤沢な状態で臨めるんではないでしょうか。好順位が予想できますね。チェックポイントがね最終アンチということで、先にねチェックポイント中入りしてもいいんですが、しませんね。ダウンズビースト読みが多いね。ダウンズビーストに張り付いてるのかな。張り付いてはいるか。ただ多分チェックポイントになる気はします。最近のアンチ傾向的にどうかなちょっとわからないんですが、ダウンズビースト読みのチームもちらほら来てますね。
space out Downed Beast, and if a lot of teams are making their rotation toward the front buildings of Downed Beast, this could be very similar to a zone that we actually called the action on, where J-Lings was kind of playing that back claw, and it even popped up in Apex South last night.
It looks a lot like it, and 2R1C are a team that historically has been right up there with KCP in terms of being able to predict zones regularly. Led by Uchako, they've got the classic all-time duo, but they're getting landed right on by E6. So they're gonna take the area underneath Downed Beast. There's a lot of space to share here, but 2R1C are gonna get crowded in, and the toughest part of navigating this high ground is keeping it for the long run.
So let's go ahead and chat about what we're seeing specifically with 2R1C electing to take the high ground here at Downed Beast. They don't necessarily have a LOBA, so they're not going to be able to have a black market to resupply on things like ammo and heals. But they do have Watson, which will allow them to have the interceptor pylon, get shields, but Slayers on the caustic team?
We saw this being experimented with just last week. Actually, interestingly enough, in the Downed Beast circle, this didn't work especially well for Element 6, but hopefully running it back will give them a little bit of a different look. Caustic's had a bit of a rough split. Hasn't been the controller legend of choice when you want to scan those ring consoles, but defensively, he is a powerhouse, especially alongside the Crypto, who again, E6 have chosen to run. It is a Crypto day here in EMEA.
I'm thinking it's a Watson day as well. We're going to different POVs and we're seeing a lot of Watson, which is
どんどんどんどんやってき
bringing
てま
me
す。
joy because
これ
I
は
saw her
2R1C 非
face
常にいいんじゃ
in
ない
the
キルコム
season
狙えるよこれ入っ
17
てくるチー
trailer
ム
in
同士を
Arsenal,
やり合えば
and she just was so cute. Her fences bring me a lot of joy, but her ability to control space, and especially if you're not leaving your drop spot POI. You don't have to have a lot of shields. That regen from the interceptor pylon is mission critical for 2R1C.
が上
And
で
I know
ベ
that I like
ベ
to
ックス
talk
トも入って
about
きて J リーグも入ってきて
strategy
ると
analysis, where people are standing, what they can do.
Audi
But I
は
can
なんだっけ
appreciate
な
cosmetics.
どこだっけな
You saw Watson's skin
Kara,
pop up
yes.
during the masked event. Oh my god! What an amazing skin! I have been struggling not to purchase that for myself because, oh my lord, like I am on the verge.
Dia, you predict who's going to win this map right now, and I will buy you that skin.
Oh god, right now? I'm gonna go 2R1C. I'm going. I'm going. I have to commit, guys. Chat.
さあ下位のチ
Respect
ー
the
ムは
decision. Help me out here
まあ
because
A は
this
残り1試合しかないから
really
も
high
も
stakes
乗れても
for me. Higher
25ポイン
stakes
ト
than
た
you
だ
know.
多くのチームが
Morningstar's on the
25ポイントを
rotation
取れ
in
ば
pretty darn high
リー
stakes
ジョン
for
ファイ
them
ナ
as
ルには
well,
ね
especially
い
since
けるっていうチー
Down
ムはかな
Beast
り
is
あると思う
becoming
ので、まあ、あと
increasingly more crowded. We've got a few teams
最後の
that
ね
have
世
actually
界大会
opted
年
in
間王
towards
者を決める大
checkpoint,
会
though,
に
and
向け
that's
て
what's
も
making this rotation
別
so
に捨てる
difficult.
必要は
Among
ない
them, Game and Gladiators.
Game and
で
Gladiators
し
needs
イヤ
to
ー4
have
か
a
なイヤー
pop-off
4に向けたね
performance,
戦
and
いもあ
I
ります
have
の
to
で、まあ、どのチー
imagine
ムも
that
ね油断はで
Hardecki
きない
has
し
changed his
捨て
name
れ
to
ない試合
Hard
ですの
Wig
で、まあ、
in
全力で、ね、
homage
や
of
っていくこと
Nicewig,
と
who's
思
probably
いま
going
す
to be watch partying ALGS for the next 24 plus hours. I was watching some APAC South with them last night. Obviously, the folks over at Longshot, they kick things off. We saw some really good moments from Dax and Genome, and I get so excited. So I want to give a huge shout out to Moist. I don't think we really got to talk about them too much. They
もう結構
won
激化して
split
きて
two
るねダウ
overall
ン
for
ズ
the
ビース
regular
ト
season
結
and
構
will be
中入りム
advancing
ーブは
on
激しい
to
ね
London again.
Going to be a really good look for them, especially given what we saw just last time. That's a good look, though. Good damn! Gets a nice knock with a frag onto Jules, playing out of this low ground. Kella Gaming do have to find a creative way of finishing off this kill, and there it goes. Rondon being taken down in Game of Drones. Now on their last legs.
Game of Drones needs to be incredibly consistent to avoid relegation. No stranger towards qualifiers. I know they'll have no issue coming through there, but you really would like to avoid that if possible. Kella Gaming, another team that came through the qualifiers at the preseason, and they've been performing rather lacklusterly. I feel as if you can get a strong start off. This will be the way. Like,
soれいけるかな。
I maybe found myself
それは最初いけるけど、中入るって打たれるぞ。
Let's go out and have some fun.
中入る
Let's
って
lay
打
it
たれ
all
ちゃ
out and see just
う。こ
how
この
well we
辺から
can take
この
fights.
辺から打たれるよ。大丈
LCDF
夫
making their
見られて
rotation
ない
as we see these teams moving
まさか
towards
の
down beast. It's going to get
全然バレ
incredibly
てない
congested, specifically in this
全然
area
バレてない
where
よ
LCDF is trying to take.
And this is that position that you actually spoke of where we saw the ring end just last week. It's going to be a nice spot to hold for now, although one that is
僕の
looking
最初の今チェ
increasingly
ッ
like
ク
it
ポイント
won't
で
be
すが
part
こ
of
んだけダウンズ
future
ビースト集ま
zones.
ってきてるって
Should
ことは
pull a little bit further
ダウン
into
ズ
the
ビーストアン
south.
チなの
2R1C
か
nonetheless have to be aware of this, have to respect
そうなんだ
now
第
that
3 A 見
this
してほ
is
し
the
いな
team
チ
that
ェッ
can
クポイン
ruin
トであれ
their
ば
game.
第
Let's
3
see
A
if
触れるは
France
ず
sit right next to the squad that has the best position in zone, and they know it. So do 2R1C.
教えてくれ 2R1C
Time to bide the time. Thorfinn does have a charge rifle that will allow them to poke, prod, do armor checks, and really hold these choke points and deny rotational abilities from the teams that are looking to maybe walk their way into that zone. So Crypto going to provide a lot of information. Yarka can essentially use his little iPad drone to scout out the teams that have rotated underneath. Most recently, we saw Element 6 take to the underside of down beast.
いやでもこの構
LCDF
成で
tried to
自分たち
take
のア
some
ンチに
space
ラン
here
ド
on
マーク
those
にアンチ寄っ
buildings,
たのは
but
めちゃ
the
めちゃ運が向
fencing
いて
is
るね
impeccable, right? You want to
これは
prevent people from being able to
一番この
walk
構成
up
が刺
on
さる
that tail, and you called it, Dia. You said
ランドマークというかアンチ
2R1C
だね
God spot going to win
FUT
this
はだいぶ
all on
広
the
く取って
line
て
with
ま
the
あアンチ
Watson
際
skin.
かなこれはミルだから
I'm really crossing my fingers for
対応
2R1C.
して
And
る
they're
のか
playing things really well, honestly. As I
そういうわけ
said,
じゃないか
keeping their eyes on their back, and have made an interesting swap up. I didn't clock it at the very start of
見
the
る側
match,
から来る
but
チームを
the
弾い
ways
てい
that
こう
they've
とそういう
actually
算
chosen
段
to
ですね
designate these legends is a little bit unusual for 2R1C, who have given
Ah,
Kiarka the crypto this time around. Normally the
Keen
anchor
longbow.
player, normally on something like the
Keen scope
Watson.
longbow だ。
Instead, that's being run
いや
by
ただこのチー
Thorfinn.
ム
One
は
of your squads to watch, back to your squad to watch.
バンガおいいフラットラインです
Instead, sitting
いいフラ
down,
ットラインですねあんだけ当て
gatekeeping
たい
this
ものですね
southern
皆さん
side of the
私
ring, one that Aurora
私
will
皆
have
さん
to walk through rather soon.
Well, we know Rain Day is really
オーロラね。
excited to see just how this fight is going to go. And
いや
Bitfix Gaming, they're coming off that uncontested fight at Barometer. It seems that they have
お互い痛み分け
claimed
と
that for
あ
themselves.
攻めるな
A good
バン
bang
ガだから
open.
攻
Now
め
a
る
seer
ね
exhibit being
視野
thrown
の
up
ウ
for
ルトはあるけど
information,
も
but
そうか
Bitfix
援が来て
really
るか
didn't
ら
take a lot of damage
カウ
on
ンター
that
でこっち
initial
も視野のウル
push.
ト出
But
し
with
て
both seer exhibits being expended here,
ち
Crack
ょ
is
っ
gonna
と
need to
ずつちょっ
find
と
a
ずつ
good
まあ攻めだ
opening
ね
so they
BFG も
can
も
keep
うめ
moving
ちゃめちゃ攻め
forward.
構成だからいや上取ったんでかいあただすでに上をしっかり取っているこれ偉いねすでに先に上取ってたのはマジで偉いそうだねああいう時はホライゾンで3人分に上取るとワンピック取れるんだよねおお俺ら返した返したで2人回復してる間にいやこのホライゾンうまホライあオーロラも同じ構成だどちらも同じ構成ミラー構成だよさあということはこれはもうメタの勝負ではなく純粋な3対3の勝負になるね俺の方が位置は有利だったけどベイビットフィックスはちょっと2人返されたのでかかったねいやオーロラ返しが上手だったねやりきったいや強かったオーロラ
Yeah, at this point, I mean, we're asking ourselves what they need to
さあオーロラ
do,
はアン
and
チ
it's hopefully playing out a
の外
rotation
で
that
戦闘
doesn't
を終えて
include
3キルと
Aurora. We
帰
had a lot
って
of
これ
questions
ると
about this roster
そ
coming
こ
into
の
the
先
day.
に
What Aurora
FUT と
would show
VCGO
up,
が待
but
って
for
ま
the
すがこ
start,
こも
for their
当たる
warm-up
かただ
fight
アーマー
against
差がちょっと
Bitfix, things are looking pretty good.
FUT の方
I have
が
some questions
有
about
利だね
Vortex walking
VCGO は
into
出て
today's
かなきゃいけ
matches,
ないから
however. Whether
北
they'd
側
be
か
able
ら
to
もらわって
replicate
か
the
な
number one
多分ちょっと
finish
ずっ
that
と
they
張られて
gave
ると思
us
う
just last week, and for this specific zone, it's going to be a tall order. FUT sit here watching them make their way past Mill, and
VT
even
はな
a
んでそん
southern
なあんま
approach
強い
from this point will still take Vortex through squads like Vexed.
プロでさなんかいつの間に
That
そん
is
な
going to be
赤くなる
very
暇あったみたいなさ
challenging
時あるよね
position
だって
of
1
this
部
for
隊
esports. When
2
I'm
部
speaking
隊
to
し
their
かやって
manager,
なくてさ
very, very
ずっとここい
comfortable
るじゃん
here on
VT
Storm Point. They love to play hard edge, and typically that's
CS
great. And I was like, do you guys have any issues
あーずっ
with
と
taking
あれか
fights hard
あてかあれ
edge
か
these
キ
days,
ンロングか
especially with all the changes that have
カタリ
happened
スト
from
の人
Season 16? The reclassifications, the denial of information, and they were like,
スナイ
of
パー
course
で
it's
もう
RNG.
4
Of course,
700
every
近く当
fight
てて
that
んの
we
か
approach, we don't necessarily know how it's going to go, especially with
さあ
the risk of
へ
third
ー
parties
そっち行くんだ
inevitable. They just know that they are
へー
confident, and I think that's going to
さすが
have to
プ
be
ロっす
enough for
ね
them. You
全
think
然
back
ま
to
だま
where
だ
they
僕
were
なん
in
ちゅうみ
Split
は
1dia,
アセン
facing
ドが位置
relegation,
的にはい
they
いんだ
just
けど
barely snuck into
裏
regional
から来ちゃうん
finals.
だよね
This
で
is a
裏から来た時にアセ
completely
ンドの位
different
置ってダウ
dynamic
ン
for
ズビー
them,
ストの上
just
から打た
about
れ
to
ちゃうだから
sneak
結果
into
挟まれちゃうん
Split
だ
2
よね
playoffs.
At the very
だ
least,
か
we got
ら
that
アセン
willingness
ド
to
は
roll the
挟まれ
dice
ない
that
位
a
置
lot
で
of
だ
the
から
teams
そうだね
are
東側の家で
lacking on
アンチ
sometimes
カットをした
not
よね
wanting
で
to
後ろの
take
憂いが
that
なくなったところを
50-50.
内側にちょっとずつ
Being
入っ
willing
てい
to
く
go
と
for
そう
it
する
is
と
a big
ダウンズビースト側
boon.
が
Take
死
a
ぬほ
look
ど
at
混ん
the
でるか
map
ら
now, an unexpected
アセン
ring
ドは安
pull
全にア
will
ンチに
take everything out of down to beast, but
さあ
Vex
ベッ
make
クス
that
と
first move down to the
上位だよ
south
上位
and might
5位と
just
か6
find
位とかかな
themselves
そ
a
のベ
fight.
ック
This is
ス
up
ト
against
が
Vortex.
あ左からの車線あるけどあうまい今のうまいでも左からの車線を切りながらスライディングジャンプで当てに行ったのうまいなああいう打ち合い方大事だよね敵に当てることと敵から避けることを両立するっていうのがさめちゃめちゃ難しいんだけど
especially coupled with the
右上の
Bangalore.
車
Now we were
線
just
切って
talking about how the Digi threat is no longer in the
別パが来た
crafter,
か
but when you are faced yourself
別
in
パ
a
が来たね
situation
FUT が来たね
against Foot Esports,
あ
against
ベクストはそれ
Vortex,
早く
and
そ
you're
れに気づ
last
いて逃
standing
げ
for the
た
team, this is where you
VCGO はた
disengage
だ
from the fight and try to
こ
play
れ
your
は
life.
ベクスの方は押せない
Vortex
か
has
ら
already lost out on
押
one,
したいんだよ
but
ね
they
本当は
are
ベクスの
keeping
方
that momentum moving
最悪
forward.
キルポ取ってみたいな感じにしたいんだよね
Just now, so Vortex know that they
あー
must
キン
push
スコ
forward
だ
right into Foot, and
キンスコだ
unfortunately, it'll take EQ down.
うわー
and
ベ
take
クス全
all
部取り切った
Vortex down as Robin bites the
キンスコ
dust.
強っ
FUT are the
まあ
last
さすがに
ones
だね
laughing
いやでもベ
as
クスト
they
よく返したわ
mow down that mechanically gifted
た
Tyler
だただ
all
キ
on
ン
his
スコ
lonesome.
ゲームだった
You
ね
know,
今
I
ね
was talking about play
キン
your
スコあったら
life,
勝
but
つ
he was able to
まあ
pick
そりゃ
up
そうだ
at
よな
least
一
one
方
more
的にウォ
KP.
ール
Now,
ハック積んで
granted,
るような
going
もん
out
だ
in
もんね
17th isn't necessarily the start you were looking for Vext. We know how
そう考え
challenging
る
they
と強いな
can
ウ
be
ォール
with
ハック積ん
pushing
でるのと
that
一緒だもん
engagement after engagement, and they're scary to fight. You said it in the pre-show, but Foot Esports, they're confident, they're not afraid to go up against any team, especially Vext.
And when you're so used to rolling 50-50s, right? When even your manager is like, yeah, we don't really know if we'll win. You see a third party, you get that extra percentage, you know that Foot are going to be confidently sending it forward. Nightmare,
これチェック
they
ポイント側は
themselves
最後
sat
に
in
チーム
checkpoint
残る
with a
の
few
がどこか
squads
っていうと
left
ころ
to
だ
be
ね。多
doing
分先
so.
頭
Now
したい
the
チームが
option
集まって
whether
きてるんじ
they
ゃない
take
か
the
な。
50-50, whether they go for the fight, or if they disengage early.
Now, this is going to be really interesting because you think about that choke point that is just south of all the main buildings in checkpoint. A lot of the teams that have found themselves south of checkpoint in the buildings are all going to have to filter through the checkpoint. So I'd imagine that all of these teams are going to collapse on one another in just a few minutes. It's going to start with Nightmare. It's going to start with Outplayed. And you've really got to hold on and withstand every bit because this isn't going to just be a third-party situation. We're looking at fourth and potential fifth parties here.
だからカタリストでとりあえず家を固めてるけども、まあただもうだいぶきついね。ここもし何かしらで奇跡的に帰れたとしてもアンチ入れないからな、バルいないから。なるほどね。ただあれだな、思ってるスピードがカタリストのそのドアを壊して撃つってのはめっちゃいいと思うんだけど、思ったよりゆっくりで敵が対応できちゃう。さあそこに最後に
Look, this is about to be an all-out brawl. We've got another Seer exhibit going out, and Nightmare Esports from the underside have reached another realm. They are wanting to make a play for the top and eviscerate every team in their line of sight. Now, Fraz trying to find some cheeky angles. Limek able to find some good damage, but not necessarily enough to completely capitalize on. When you have a Dark Veil cutting through the insides of a building, it can make things a little more tantalizing. So 7 going to drop back down.
さあたださらに
charging up that gold shield before going
さらに
back
そ
in.
こ
But
に
this is going to
GG が
give
来てる
Gaming
よ。
Gladiators all the time they need to start pushing through.
But nobody has any time. That's the scary thing.
さあ
Gaming
後半でもアンチ
Gladiators,
も閉まる
they
ぞ。
think about that push and
ゲ
they
ームグラディエ
realize
ーターは
just
もう
as
さ
we
すが
all
に無理だ
should
と
that
いう
this
こと
is
で
no
飛びま
longer
した。
part of the zone and have to take up to the skies.
さあただこ
Nightmare
こから
going
ど
to
う
be
する
joining
かだ
right
ね。
alongside
さ
them
あ
and now we gamble
別のチ
as
ー
to
ムも
who
飛んでる。
actually
全
gets
チー
a
ム
good
飛んでる。
place to land in
これは
down
どう
beast.
する？
Everybody going to be looking at this. J-Links from the building, 2R1C from the
ここ
top,
入れたけ
E6 from
ども
underneath. And if you think you're safe here, let's see difference.
あ、バンがいるの強え。
LCDF, J-Links, these are the teams that called it from the very beginning. They knew they had to take space.
さあただ
And GG, unfortunately, Hardeki is going to go
やられ
down,
てる。
needing to have the Ogre, the last
さすがに
standing
き
for
ついか。
GG. We were asking
十
them
何
to
チーム
get
い
a
たん
strong
だよ。
performance, but unfortunately, their late game
さすがに無理だ。
rotation will not be met with success. 2R1C at the hands will eliminate them. Start a fight coming in from the back. Your team to watch, but let's turn our attention back to that
いや
choke
カタリスト
point where all
も
of
う
these
ここは
teams
正
have
念場だ。
made their way on foot. Two Dark Veils
チェックポイント側のチー
splitting
ム
it
が
up,
地獄
and
だ。
Foot Esports is down to Liffen, trying to hold on, and Totem, they are ready for some action. Arc Stars
これ
going
ね
out,
こっち側
Dia.
のチェックポイン
And
ト側にい
another
たチームが
catalyst
勝
ball
ったと
comes
ころ
up
見
as
たこと
well.
ないんだよ
Black
な。
Totem know they have to fight
こ
their
の
way
ダウ
out
ンズ
this
ビースト
corner.
側
Want
対
to be
チェックポイン
active
ト側で。
participants in making their own
不利なんだよ
fate.
な
But
チェ
swinging
ックポイント
around
側
here
は。
does expose you to a lot of fire.
あ
Passion go
った
down.
で
The
も
Dark Veil drops.
でも
And
トーテム
Black
勝っ
Totem
ちゃったよ。
instantly start eating shots from another squad.
44% left to get that cat wall back up for them. They know they're going to need it for the rotation, so hopefully some ultimate accelerants are within their inventory to make utilization of that. But you look at Fluke, we're down to a wrap, and they have everything for them, but they have been found out by Totem, so easy pickings for them. Now with 7 points already here in game number 1, they are cleaning out everything in this vicinity, but the most issue that they're going to face, Dia, is how are they going to get to the other side? Ult accelerants in hand, that's perfect, but talk about that rotation.
Yeah, it's all about the catalyst wall, and you called it out. They know as well that the ultimate from
下の
catalyst
山が
to just
5まで減ってるよ。
may actually get them to the bunker on the low
14とかは
ground.
いったでしょ。
Start a fight.
さっきの
They've got
チーム
priority
まる前
over this topmost bit. The small buildings here.
いやもう
Valkol's
きつい
gonna
わ
come
な
in.
さバル
Get
飛
hit
んだ
from
けど
the
どこ行
sky,
く？
but now. Where are you
どこ
actually
行くのそ
trying
れ？
to land? If we're not using catalyst walls to make our way into the zone, what on earth are Totem
経
going
営の
for?
裏
I
家
imagine they're going to throw it
三角空いて
down
る？
potentially to cover them at the
あ、やっぱいる
end.
よね。
But Start a fight, your
There it
team
is.
to watch. They're about to get into
あ、
some
歌の放題
significant
じゃん。
third-party action. Let's jump into a quick listen-in presented by WD Black.
Hey, right side is free. Like,
Yeah, right side is free, right side is free. Kids on me, flash. Kids on me, kids on me.
あ、撃てる撃てる撃てる撃てる撃てる撃てるキルポキルポキ、あー、角間がなんで角間がねえんだ。
One died. On the right.
あ
Left.
ナイス。うわー角間が角間だ。
He run.
Okay, it's fine.
さあ J リーグトーテム SF と1人
Nice.
いいフラットラインです。
Can we extend on that or is it risky?
さあこれは SF が有利か。押していけるか押していけるか。
We are just holding. We are just holding. Listen, we are just
Just holding just holding keep
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We play right side of the fence and we win game.
Yeah, light.
Listen,
It's
I have
one
no
soul.
cells, no
Right
cells.
right
Give me
Okay.
cells.
Okay,
I just-
it's one soul.
I need
Ah,
heavy
they
too, I need
say.
heavy too.
I
Heavy's
also
gonna be
have
scary.
heavy.
No heavy.
Fine,
Can you go there and reinforce it? Reinforce
Yes,
it.
it's easy. Yeah.
Listen. There is Sir on my ping. Solo Sir, okay?
てかあれだな
Later,
当た
when
り
we
前
make
とい
sure
うか
this zone this team
英語だね。
cannot drop us anymore.
まあ
We
同
look
じ
to
国
clear the Sir, okay?
の
Okay.
国籍の人はいねえのか
What's up?
な。で全員フランス人だとフランス語喋りゃいいわけじゃん。
That's okay, light,
母
right?
国語が多分一番喋りや
Nice,
すい
nice.
わけだ
In
から
J-Links then. J-Links control all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Light.
ゴリゴリ英語だな。イギリス人なの
Yes,
か
yes,
な。
yes.
Hey, look at my rope. Look at my rope.
Okay.
Look at me. You see this? I have a good headline.
ちょっとねこの
Guys,
EMEA
yeah,
は
we win this game.
言語がどうなってるか全然よく分かってねえな。
So what are we doing? Are we hugging the building or
こ
are
れ
we
なんか
just...
e スポーツに限らずだよ。
We're
サッカーとかもさいろんなヨーロッパの
Am I
国
gonna
に来るじゃん。
use
ポルトガルだ
Holding
ド
here,
イツだノー
holding
ド
here,
イタリアだ
Having alone left.
言語どうしてん
Yeah,
の。
holding cleft light.
英語
Make sure
覚え
they
てん
can
のかな
grab
みんな
us
こういう
anymore,
人
then
た
we
ち
move
は。
up right side.
Yeah, my
不
trust
思
is
議
still
です
there.
ね。
Okay, come.
さあ SF がだいぶ広く取って
Do I win
I'm
this?
gonna
Like,
stop.
そうだ家側と崖下と全部押さえたいね。
if we throw, it goes cancel.
あソロ見つけたソロ見つけた。
Go with this guy, kill him.
そうだ家側がわーわーやる前にナイスナイスナイスでかいでかいで残り家だけ。
Yeah.
これはもう押してあげるだけ。
Team on right side. No, team right side.
SF これはただその手前の部隊がこっち突っ込んできちゃうのそのまんまだと。
Wall of the doorway, okay? And reinforce it.
Okay. Yes.
On the left side is free for you.
あ
On
ん
the
ま
left side is
そ
free
っ
for
ち
you.
側いない方がいいかもしれないな。
Yeah, that one is ready.
あただまああれかアンチが閉まってくるから建物上と中で結局
Because we can
ぶつかるな。
reinforce it if they are
た
on
だ
the road.
カタリスト
No,
が
I
い
can
る
win
か
off
ら
the wind, then do it.
多分
I can
カタ
win
リ
off
ストは
the
分
wind.
断させると思うな。奥側の2チームと手前の自分たちでウルトを分けてやらせると思う。家側が出てくるタイミングでね。そうだカタリストはその位置キープだね。カタリストはその位置キープ。
Try to kill the team on the roof.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it soon, I think. I'm gonna do it soon.
ソロなのか。
But we also need to use
あ
this
の
wall,
上
so
は
we wall like so it's good
じゃ
for
あ
us
ちょ
also
っ
to
と
play.
でも上に下を潰させて
You should do it soon. You should do it
I'm
soon.
gonna do
Really
it now.
soon.
I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah,
さあ使った
And go reinforce.
Wait, there's a zero. I don't know if I can.
Okay. I'm still thinking.
さあただ
I'm doing it. I reinforced it.
もう一人も使う。閉じた強い。その閉じ強い。
Play up. Crouch.
Burning.
ただ相手もグレ使ってきて
60 on 2.
で上のチーム上が耐えてる上耐えてる。
Should fight.
いやこれいける。これ結構きついぞ。結構きつくなってきた。いや意外に思ったより家側のアンチ。あそれ勝てる。どう
No.
の
No way.
リープライト点。
I don't know how we could win.
うわよく耐えたね。
Dia, the solo of
ソ
Totem.
ロ勝ったのすごっ。
Solo on the roof that
Maji.
Starfight was so aware of the entire time.
Yeah,
We need to take down the
耐えたもんな。
team on the roof. But can we
これは
talk
ビッグ
about
ゲーム
the
です。
utilization of the Dark Veil and reinforcing the door because my jaw dropped.
Yeah, everybody there super aware of their cooldowns, and start a fight, despite the fact that they didn't win the game,
このお姉さんいつも胸
got
元当てて
darn
んな。ありがとうご
close,
ざい
and
ま
it
す。
was all off of
画質よ。画質が悪いです。10見して10見して10見してここよしよし。いや6キロ9キロも取ってるじゃん。でけえこの1位でかいですこの1位は。まあでも21ポイントでかいな。まだ初戦なのでね、この辺のポイントいつでもひっくり返しますと、じゃあもうポンポン2試合目いきましょう。初動かぶりはなし。ちょっとこの辺コーチとサンダーウォッチちょっとぶつけどっかでかぶせてもいいかもしれないね。またこっちが左上寄ってます。今度は IMC 周りかな。寄り切るだろうね。 IMC 周りこの 球体のね建物とかこの3つの家とかまあこの辺付近だね。
For
最
you.
終アンチは
Taking it into your own hands is going to be really important as we again pop
今
ourselves
日はもう
up
寄り
towards
切
the
りだ
northern
ね。
side of the
ア
map.
ン
A
チは
little even
もう完
further
全に寄
north
り切
this
るわ。
time, and a big advantage to squads that land Thunder Watch,
はい
Lightning
バックノ
Rod,
ースの
and
試合
High
と同じ
Point,
感
as
じにな
all
る。
three of those individual POIs have great relocation into this zone as well as a ring console.
Looking at J-Lings too, I think this is a team that maybe is a bit underrated in terms of their power. You've got to give credit where credit is due. Noise is an IGL that maybe with Graceful, though we thought it
い
would
や
have
ーリ
worked
プライ
nicely,
到底もでかかった
maybe ended
な
up
あの
not
チャン
giving
プよく
Noises the
勝ち
level
ま
of
したよあれ。
confidence he needed to make the calls, knowing how good
一
Graceful
人って分か
was
ってなかったん
also.
かそれと
He
も
went
逆に
on
一
to
人だっ
Element
たから
6. He's
も
now
う最後に
retired and
残
he's
しと
done
こう
some
と思っ
great
たら
things for his family, and we
やら
wish
れ
him
た
the
って
best.
感
We
じなの
hope to
か
see him
な。
again
まあ
in different
もう
circumstances, but when you look at JMW,
平
a
側の
land
チームは
winner
ね
with Dark Zero
SF
in
かな
Sweden, when you
SF が
look
もう
at
一人の
Nags,
方全
who
く見てなかっ
has
たもんね。
played
もう
with
中
Case
の
when
チ
he
ーム
was
集
often
中
been
っ
a
ていうので
fragger that
あれね
people
思
have
っ
said
て
this
る
guy
家
has
が
the
ずっ
skill
と
to
入っ
be
て
in
たね
top
最
10.
終アンチね。
Can he actually perform that way? They were in that final
そうその
circle.
せい
I
で
want to see more out of them. I think we are starting to
結
see a
局あの
glimpse
カ
of
タリストのウル
a
ト
team that
が
could threaten Atlanta, and
自
certainly
分
is
た
playing to
ち
their
の
potential.
壁になっちゃったねあれ
Be
ね。
in the same boat, or perhaps the same trident.
あなんか紙一重だよね。あれ別にさ結果論で言うとなくてよかったんだよね。家側を一方的に横車線で広げて打てるからよかったんだけど、もうちょっとアンチが平側だとあのカタリストウルトはめっちゃ効いてたんだけどね。あれ難しいよね。あんな分からんもんどっち側入ってるかなんて。
But you'd really prefer a building during the early stages of this initial round, and there are very few to be found. J-Lings have somehow not been shot at. I am amazed that they're all right and that they get to pop out to maybe pick up some free kills.
They're doing the shooting. Yeah, they said we're not getting shot at. We got our trident for extra cover as well. Good stuff from JMW, and he picks up 2R1C. The Orphan goes down. And now J-Lings with 13 points already feel like they've got a lay of the land. Team up top. They've been able to down one. They know one escaped. That's Hierka hiding and waiting. And there's a team in the building nearby. So we'll follow along with J-Lings to continue, but this is what I said. They got themselves into that zone really early, and this means that yes, they're fighting, but they're fighting without now needing to move, without needing to be battling uphill or into a building off a team. They can hold here for a while, but these next 5 minutes are going to be crucial because they will not be the only team doing this. As J-Lings say, you know what? Maybe we aren't in the best spot. Let's get even closer. They are now even more in the mix, trying to find a spot to sell.
Mixing things up a bit. This is a little further towards the edge, but an equally, if not more, difficult position to push for J-Lings. So a bit more safety given to them. Now getting the chance to set up with the Watson and taking this position away from 2R1C, who previously held it before losing some members. Element 6 also going for the relocation, pulling themselves further up north and into wall. This is not the zone prediction that many teams will have. And Element 6 have changed things up pretty drastically, given that they don't actually have the data on this second ring pull. They didn't land with a ring console.
Oh, trouble here for Gaming Gladiators. They're getting shot from all over, and they don't know that Vex is behind them. That right there is Gaming Gladiators not only getting shot from Vex, but getting shot from Morning Stars. Oh no.
暴力でチャーライしかも白浜のチームからしたらもう2発で死ぬチャーライ2発ってやばいよ。
That is looking difficult, but will there be a way for one to make it out? I think Leogri has definitely gone down. There's just one more left from Gaming Gladiators.
ただ物資を拾ったのはベックスと。
Plenty of opportunity here. These were some of the buildings that we talked about earlier.
さあこの家は集まりそうだね結構ね。
Don't even care about them. Playing outside, playing in the open, looking for kills. Game of Drones go down to ANC outplayed, and Vex start fixing their sights on the north. Those teams coming from Command Center, those teams that may very well have relocated.
Maybe back to an overview here as this fight is continuing to go, or maybe just looking at the map. All of these teams have continued to move into this circle of north. And there are several teams also on the late rotation. You can look at Aurora in the same way, Foot Esports, who have performed so well. VCGO, who won the last EMEA match day, also playing Edge. And these are not teams that want to run into each other. That's part of the issue I'm having with this play, because the quality of teams Aurora's going to have to beat on Edge it's going to be a 50-50. Can they do it?
Mata
Can they
BFG
perform?
ka?
They've got the horizon here. We'll see.
この
Ranches,
チームは
he throws
色
down
が
the
かぶる
artillery
か
strike
ぶ
for
るな
Bangalore.
そうだ
Buying
ね
a
さっ
little
き
bit
も
of
似たような
time.
アンチで
But
か
the
ぶってた
issue
から
here is
多分
how can they
BFG だ
push past this big dinosaur wall?
いや
Seems like
金
they're
子
worried about letting
金子
somebody
が
pass
暴力で
themselves and
す
trying to just defend for now.
Especially choke point like this, Sunset's gonna have to come in really clutch
Yeah,
with
umaine.
Horizon's ability to get over these
Chima.
walls by Jurassic. But first, Aurora have to find a crack that makes that worthwhile. Digi threats in hand. Ranches is gonna have the advantage inside this Bangalore smoke, but they're running out of munitions and they're running out of options. Aurora are continually trapped in here, and they almost go down as Sunset crests the wall again. That's another Horizon ult in the same fight, but he's down just as quickly.
And he just has terrible communication there. You can't push because Ranch just takes all that damage and then has to backtrack and heal. And that's when Sunset goes for the ultimate. No one to follow up and gets isolated in a 1v2. That was tough for Aurora. And again, showing that these fights are what their issue is. If they get past BitFix in this situation, they have a clean route to play in front of them for the rest of the game, but it is looking very dismal at this moment for Aurora to stabilize. It's not over. There's still a chance. There's still a thing called banners in this game, but Ranches and Cleve are now fighting an uphill battle.
And this is where you kind of wish you were running somebody more in the support legend category. We talked about this before the show, Rain Day, but things that have been seeing small bumps in their popularity, like Newcastle, like Loba, are really important when you're in a situation like Aurora's, where you are being kept away from the banner, where you don't get the chance to pick up your teammate and instead are going to be forced to play things out as a duo. If you're running something that can craft the banners, it's as easy as dipping back into the zone and picking your squad mate back up.
19 squads here.
さあ
Despite all the action, only game of drones has fallen in match 2. Foot Esports sitting in 5th place with 7 points and a very healthy life. And Taylor trying to take the life from the player in front of them. And it's just enough to poke the shield and force an elimination. Morningstars, who were a part of getting in on the action earlier against GG, who left with 1 player and are still alive, are now eliminated as we move on down to 18.
Get the chance, I'd love to take a look at the map as well. There's been some really interesting maneuvers around these couple zones, and especially when it comes to picking up ring consoles in order to get yourself more information. FUT, perhaps operating without it right now, are playing very much out in the open and up against Vortex. This is not the easiest fight to take. Vortex have the option to dip back onto the low ground so much easier, have a bunch of head peeks to play, and seem to be maneuvering the fight to their advantage.
No catalyst on the side of Vortex, though. They've opted with the Seer, Bangalore, and Valkyrie, movement, utility, and information.
今がちょうどいいラインなのかな。これ以上例えばその崖こういう崖越えれませんよとかになるともうバルというキャラの意味がなくなるもんね。アイデンティティみたいなものキャラの存在価値がなくなっちゃうから崖とかは越えれる長距離移動はできるっていう状態にしとかなきゃいけない。ただそうするとその最低保証があるとプロは使うっていうね。
So we're just going to make that move.
だからバルはもう多分一生使われるんじゃないかな。
They've got the Valkyrie, but they'll save that skyward dive for later.
さすがに。
Sometimes it's just smarter to walk it in.
Apex のこのシーズンが続くこうバトロワっていう使用上バルはもう外せないよね。
As long as Vortex don't negative rotate back into checkpoint.
これだってね、あんま飛べませんよ、高く飛べませんよってなったらもういらない子になっちゃうもんな。なんでそのキャラ作ったんだ。
POI is also home to a ring console and a survey beacon. So FUT planning their moves out accordingly to try and pick up as much information, meds, whatever they need for the late game as possible.
なんだそれっていうね、何のために作ったんだって。
One of the reasons I always like seeing Loba's involved.
バルキリーは最低保証がね、キャラのアイデンティティのための最低保証より
all these issues, looting, meds, it's not a problem to you. You mentioned the map here as well. You can see Aurora with the 2 still alive.
だってアンチ中ムーブでも必要だし、アンチ外ムーブでも必要なの。バトロワだから円が閉まるから。移動が大切だから。
here as the map
それはみんな
gets
使いますよ
highlighted.
There's a team I really want to highlight, and it's Nightmare, who actually may be going up against Ascend. It would be a tragic end to what has been great setup out of this
まあ第
team.
2エンドケム
Sitting
ロック
up
は
by
拾わないよ
Lightning
ね
Rod,
弾
High
数がなん
Point,
て言ったって
farming up these ring
プロだ
consoles.
と大
They
事だから
actually
ね
have this next scan on the zone, where so many teams
で
do
ネメシスが
not,
ね
and have been able to hit
そんな
Survey
にその
Beacon
ケ
on
ム
the
ロ
way
ックと比べ
in.
て
This is a squad that is
死
set
ぬほど
up
身を
for
取るってわけ
success
じゃ
when
ない
it
から
comes
ね
to the
確かにケム
information.
ロックの
And
方
Nightmare
が強
currently
いんだけ
sit in
ど
our little pineapple-shaped buildings up to the north. We'll see how it works out for them as
弾拾えちゃ
2R1C
うからね
say their prayers and Valgold in.
さあ入
Fortunately,
ってんだ
still alive.
入ってるっていうか開いて
Taking
ん
the
だここ
benefits of at least one
開い
door
てることなんかあ
barricaded
るん
by
で
a
すよこ
catalyst.
こは
I
ね
guess that's good if you want to keep people
でも
out.
これがクリプトの強みだよね
That's really
クリ
good
プ
if you
ト
want to get out
の
of there quickly
ドロー
as
ンで
well.
ちゃん
You'll
と
still
見て
have
か
to
ら入
break
って
it
きたよ
down
な空いてるぞっ
with
て
a
ね
couple of extra
これが
kicks
強いん
thanks
で
to
すよ
her
この構
passive,
成は
making
ク
a
リプ
difference
ト
in
で
this
空いてる
late
ところ
game.
見
Four
つけてバルジャン
buildings
で飛んで
and
ワ
four
ッと飛んで
teams
固める
all sitting
お手
comfortably
本のよう
within
なプ
them.
レーですね
Amaz, you see Horizon.
さあ
Zero
やっぱり
nothing
こ
over
っ
there.
ちアンチだよね
C2R1C.
こっちのノー
She
スパッ
started
ト
fight,
IMC
taking the
周り
outskirts
に
of
な
the
ってきたの
gazebo.
で多くのチー
VCGO
ムが
just
集まってます
holding that angle
キープできる場所が少ないねこ
far
こは
north
ね
side of your vision right now.
終盤になってくると屋根上とか建物の屋根上もね
I'm
頑
more
張れば
curious
こう
to
守れ
can
るん
they
だ
do
け
it
ど
again
今
because
の
that
状
was
態だと
such a
車線が
contested
通っ
match
ちゃうから
day.
ね
It could flip like a
第
coin
4エン
and
ぐらい
anybody
で
else could have won
チェ
that.
ッ
It
クポイ
was
ント側
17 points
側からバル
separating
ジャン
the
して
first
屋根
and
上
the
取るっていう
13th
のは
place team.
エーパクノスで
I
いう
want to see them do it again. If so, I think this is a team we need to start talking a lot more about.
I'd have to agree with you if you're
No
able to
exception は
consistently
同じジャンプはしたけども
change
違う
these
ところに
situations
行く
that really could go any way
チェ
into
ックポイ
your
ント側からジ
favor.
ャンプして降りるチ
That's
ームは
where
何チ
you
ーム
become
か
a
出
team
てく
that
るんじゃ
everybody
ない
has to
で
be
しょう
worried
か
about, where you go, well, how are they solving the situation where we cannot? And that's what you want to aspire to, especially at these levels of Apex Legends. Now, we've seen a few squads take these creative solutions, dipping back into the zone again and again to be able to reorganize their approach to the ring. I'm thinking specifically of FUT, taking
さあ
that
ベック
long
ス
way
とは
around into
贅沢
checkpoint,
に
get
2
Cracker,
つ
get
家
ring
取っとるわ
console,
こい
get
つら
everything that you could possibly want.
さすがに
But
バルジャンで
now
ガッてきた
that
らね
all ends.
どっちか開けると
This
思うんだけど
next zone is unforgiving. The
広く取ってもさ
typical
ベックスと
ring 3 that crowds everybody into one spot,
さあ
not
先週調
allowing
子
you
良かっ
to
た
exist
V2
inside
が
it for minutes at a
夜
time
をファイト
is going to mean a lot here. And V2, they're on the hustle
あー
already.
せ
They
ーの
know the time is
あー
limited.
惜しい
40 seconds left
せ
on
ー
this
の
zone close and a squad in between them in safety.
あんま強い
Desperately needing points in Group C.
ガチガチ
One
外
of
向
their
くチー
two
ムだね
match days to
V2 は
end the season happening today, the other tomorrow, and they are sitting in
Yeah,
the
well,
middle
show
of
them
the
this.
pack. Can
Show
they
them this, they
continue to try to rise here with some
さあ追っ
decent
てく追って
scores?
く追ってく追っ
12.
てくれた右からの車線
Excuse me,
も
16,
気に
the
もせず
highest point
カ
total
タ
they've
リスト
ever
だろうが
achieved
気にもせ
in
ず
a
追って
match,
く
and they did it last time. We'll see more from V2 here. Zidane
い
hits
や
a couple of
ー
shots there. Big Fix go down in the process. Light work so far, but you've got to stay wary. I'm happy they have the catalyst here.
Oh,
I
いい
think
ね
they're going to need it because of the
な
pressure
かなか
that is
90パ
about
ッ
to
トかな
amount.
多分
You say light work, and I think
パッとは
many hands.
すぐ避けれるんだよ
V2
チャージライ
and
フル
Totem, both.
バルはまだ
playing a
避けれる方
crucial
だけど
part
それ
of
でも
eliminating
90食らっちゃうか
Bitfix
らね
there, who were left with no options. But as you say, now this catalyst has to come into effect for
Totem
V2,
vs
who have no
V2
effective way of taking on
トーテムはチャン
Totem
ピオン
in
だと
this
調
choke.
子がい
They
いで
don't
すよ
have height, they
さあ
don't
分
have
断した
money. Out goes the
分
catalyst
断し
wall.
て
We'll see what it can do. It's
一
separating
人を狙える
Arctic
か
from the rest
あ
of the
ただす
squad,
ぐ
and forward
あー
they
早い
dive as
早いね
Arctic
偉
throws
いね
himself bodily behind this rock into a bit
いや
of
固まっ
safety,
たの
allowing
偉い
V2 to take height.
And I think that's more of a
ただ追い詰め
mechanical
ていく
opportunity
いいね
miss than an actual tactical
で
opportunity
多分
miss because
V2 はもう後ろの憂いがないから押すだけこういう時大体
Holy! What an
押す
aim
方が
from
有利
Zidane. Beautiful plays from the catalyst. The wall forces them away. Zidane cleans it
いや
up with a
強い
nemesis in the R99.
あー強い
Zidane!
V2 だー強いです
Looking
ね
like the legendary footballer, the class, the suave nature, and
Nature.
the grace. Picks up 3, and that was Reply Totem, our winners of last
い
game.
や V2
Down
選手
and
からマ
out.
ジで調子いい
And we get to see that interaction again. By the way, this refrag potential of the catalyst using her ability to pass through other catalyst walls changes everything for V2 as things unfortunately start to change perhaps in the other direction for FUT. Liffin's been taken down by a few unlucky longbow shots, and now a quick res covered by this catalyst is still
しな。
putting
いや、
FUT
なん
in
とか
danger.
ロングボー
Taylor
が
with
痛かった
support
ね。
throws his exhibit down so he can allow his teammates to see if anyone is pushing them off of that res. As Taylor still holds the anchor position and nags from J-Lings just to his left. In front though, all eyes on start a fight. They're the ones who just not
J-Lings スポーツは一人
listen,
だ
and
け
they're
なの。
going to
そう
try
な
to
んだ。
regroup here as Foot also tries to regroup. Nags just trying to stay out of sight, out of mind. He's like, I'm only one player. Don't worry about me. And I think that's the right move as well. 13 squads left. It continues with V2.
ナーツ、もう一緒強いです。この人らこっち側だったっけ？あれ、この人ら逆側じゃなかった？チョークポイント。左側のさ、細道いたよね。そうだよね、カタリストのキー置いてあるもんね。
No prisoners in the second game. V2 are now one of the only squads to be approaching from this angle, making their way in towards the next zone. They alone have control of these choke points and still have plenty to fight through, especially as they cross through open territory. What are they going to do here? Do they Valkyrie? Do they again rely on the Catalyst wall to take down another team?
And this is why in some of these zones, the way they're being played, you can actually do better with the Catalyst than a Valkyrie. And I know that sounds crazy, but these skyward dives are basically a gamble. They are not guaranteed to land you in any place that you don't immediately die. You have to kind of walk up these things and play what is given. And you can see right here, teams taking the risk, but that may mean we see a few teams in the kill feed go down very quickly.
中に1部隊だ。で、今上が来て、上はもう自分たちがきつくなるから早く下ろしてやろうと。
is the most terrifying one, 2v2. It's one of the few teams that will have angles over the course of the next few minutes. And right now, this Bangalore squad causing a bit of a headache as well inside the INC armory. Maybe time to push once you recover from this 2R1C. Down underneath the INC armory. Another very powerful place to play.
V2 up on top, feeling confident as well. Why wouldn't they? 5-2 for Zidane, looking like Zinedine with the way that he's been playing. Can he continue that form? And I can't believe it. That team up on Nut has still survived. They've had so much pressure. Notice that TO that is, but they have still made it. It seems like V2 going on the other side. Now the Catalyst wall is charged. But they want to make sure Joke has his.
これなんかランクで出たことあるなこのアンチ。もうソロで残ったけどどうしようもなかったこれ。
Constantly laying down the damage, and especially if you can get a nice break and interrupt,
さあお互い頭いくことし。
V2 can feel a lot more confident jumping down right now.
クレがあればなんだけどね。
Ordinances are the things keeping them back as finally one ends up being thrown in.
いやそう意
by
外と
YOLO.
ああ突っ込んだ。
And V2 are gonna send it.
ああ
Oh, he misses.
ちょっと頑張った。
Are you kidding me?
惜しかった。
If V2 go down, Joke has got to look at himself.
ちょっと頑張った。いやマジ。
He's got
こ
to
れ
save
これ
it.
死んだらちょっと。
Oh no!
わお。
What a
Wow.
moment! V2 eliminated that
いやでも
first spray.
全員
It's
全然
just
食
one
らっ
of
てねえわ。
those
びっくり
times
した。
that you get it wrong and it's the right play and the wrong
わあ強い。
aim.
ボルテックス
And
ナ
I
イ
just
ス。
there's
ああ
nothing
い
else
る
to
まだ。
say about it. Unlucky from V2.
ああ倒した。
Vortex CGO
起こせ
though
る起こせる。
continuing
あ
on
と
their
10
rampage.
10
It will not be the
10
V2 story for game
間に合う
2.
ね間に合う間に合う。でアーマー
It's
サップ
such
し
a
て。
tough thing about Apex
た
Legends,
わあや
especially
ば
when you
こ
are
こ
a squad that does want to play a little
周り
bit
から
more
撃たれる
zone
ぞこっ
oriented.
ち。
I'm thinking about 2R1C
落ち着いたから
on the
IMC
inside of
が
that
もう家
INC
がもう
armory, cleaning it all up. But when you have to perform, it has to be at your maximum. There is no casual play in the ALGS. There is waiting for the zone to come to you, waiting for teams to fight you, and now we must play the best game of Apex we've ever played in our entire lives. Those are the two extremes, and there is no forgiveness when you make a mistake.
うまその
And Dia,
う
thank
まその
God,
あ
you
と
know,
そ
we're
の
not in that situation, because if I
そんな
died
置き方
every
できん
time
の
I
上から
missed one of my R99 magazines,
あ
well, I
ツ
would
アル
never
は
get
し
to
そ
play
こ
this
取れ
game.
たら
So,
強いんだけどまだ車線
unfortunate
が通る
V2,
よ
they'll be happy
ね
with the amount of kills they got up until
Ah,
that point, but
try
Ascend, 0-0. They're
Ascend,
fighting right
Ascend,
now
Ascend,
here.
fight
Ascend is
強いんです
going to win. Passion
アセ
goes
ンドって
down.
チームファイトも
Horizon
強いんです何そ
and
のフェン
Amaz will fall
なんか
with 0-0.
ねじれ
Being
てる
taken
ね
down by Lufka. They're nice and content here.
Ah,
in
nice,
this building.
right.
They can play at least one more zone. And they'll have to slowly move out. It's going to be tough to get in. And I like Ascend's spot here,
近代芸術みたいな
despite people
形で
knowing
縄とそのフェ
exactly
ンス
where they are.
And they're one of only two full squads left. Unless 2R1C have been able to pick back their comrade, Ascend and Vortex on opposite sides of this ring are the ones in the most danger. And look at where this ring is pulling as well, straight out into the open. It's going to have to be a massive fight, but specifically for Ascend, you have to take on 3 different squads.
3v3?
Nags finally goes
3v3
down.
かこれは
Can they
あまだい
do
る
it
まだいる
and
な
ascend to the
9
top? Let's listen in and find
3v3
out if they can be the victors of match
さあセ
number
ン
2.
ドはこれどうするかだね遮蔽を作り出せるキャラがいないから
Yeah, let me
We're just gonna send it. We're just gonna send it. Wait.
From inside or bottom?
下か、そっか
I。think we
No,
sent
no,
from
no, no,
inside.
no, silent. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go.
ああ、もう下を潰そうという判断ですね。すまらん、早っ早すぎ
Go outside. Go outside. Go outside. Get space. Get space. We need to get space.
カシラ
Fuck, I got destroyed. I'm popping a bot as well. I'm dead, probably. Popping a bot. I might be dead. I'm dead.
Enormous cracks.
Yeah, I'm low.
あ、まあもうそうだね。もう無理だったね。いやでも早か
Well,
っ
I
た
can
ね、
say
下
the
潰した
caster
の。
curse is in effect today, but
Yeah,
we also
いや
said
さすがっすね、カシャルさん。
BCGO, if they win this
マジ
game,
ヨーロ
are
ッパナン
starting
バーワン
to prove it
IGL 説あ
wasn't
るわ。
just happenstance in match day
いや
6.
下
So
潰したの判断も良かっ
both
た
sides of the
し、
coin, it seems like 50-50 was the
タイミング
theme
も良かったし、
in that
一
last
瞬
one,
だ
at
った
least
ね。
what we made it, Dia. And boy, oh boy, I'd say there was 100% great action in game 2.
自分たち3位になるぐらいだったら2位になっ
Crucial
て、
victory for them.
だからあれで6
I
ポイン
will
トもらえ
say,
るからね。3
watching
キ
how
ルポと
Ascend
順
played
位1
that
個上が
as
るから
well,
ね。
devastating for Nightmare, who
確かにあれも
spent
積んでた。
so
カタリ
long
スト
planning
と
their
かね、
approach
ニュ
to
ー
the
キャッスルい
ring,
なかったらあのアン
only
チは
to
もう
be
積んでるか
jumped
ら、
on from
あ
zone
のハンナが最適
5.
解だ
Oh
よ
my
ね。
god,
さすがっす、
heartbreak.
カシラさん。
You know what I find interesting? For that big kills that they had,
さあ、ボル
mostly
テックスが23キル、11キルすご。さあ、総合順位は先ほどチャンピオンだったリプライトーテム、V2 がキルポ稼いでる、アセンドと VC 今回の試合の2位、1位、2位がグッと上がってきてると。はいはいはい。まあ全然まだまだ混み合ってます。では3試合目、レッツゴー。
Particular J-Lings has access to the trident
今回
over
は
on the north side of Mill. They're one of the
がちょっ
teams
とあれだね。
electing to utilize that for their rotational advantage. But
なんちゃらが
Totem, they're on top of the leaderboard. They're an antenna. This is beautiful for
コ
them.
マ線側から撃たれてたか
It
ら、ね、
really is.
やめたね行くのやべえっつって
Totem having one of their best days so far should be able to make use of the crafter and antenna as well, set themselves up for a good game. Now, when you do land an antenna, you know that the zone isn't coming here, so what moves Totem chooses to take towards this end game are going to be really telling. Whether they bunker down an antenna, perhaps hoping for a little bit of a different end game, or whether they try and be proactive, take some space in shipfall, and see what they can make happen from there. Nice.
あ、何それ
This is, take note, everybody.
ワザップみたいなことしてた
You want to get them all
すごい
together and throw one nade on them, and then you eliminate all the
なんか多分
spiders
今
at
の
the
移動
same
方法
time.
で
Vortex
左側に
now
絶対
taking
寄
to
るよう
the
になってん
crafter
だ
room. We think about what's in that crafting rotation.
で
We just moved away from the
あ、
energy
グッさんだ
mag
け
and
ど
the
今
digi
のや
threat
ば
to the knockdown shield and the Moby. How do you think this is going to affect some of our teams here today?
Yeah,
気持ち
this
よい今の
is,
や
of
ろう今
course,
度
going to be really impactful, especially because of the digi threat and the interactions with Bangalore. We
プロだ
talked
ね
about this a little
ああ
bit
いうとこ
earlier
プロだ
on,
ね
but when you don't have the ability to just pick up a digi threat, things become a little bit more difficult, and you start having to play a lot more of that
今日の
edge
クラ
style
フ
to
ト
try
は
and pick up digi threats that are perhaps left behind, not
あーまああ
caught
れ
by
か
people playing around these POIs that they like to loot very quickly
Replicate-
and then get
リ
going
ス
with
ポンビーコン
shotgun bolt
出
and
るだ
double
けまだいい
tap
か
trigger as well. It's
あ
worth
ちょっとあれだ
considering
ね
crafting
ニュー
an
キャッスルがいたら
EVA8. Still a very
まあまあ
powerful shotgun, just not
紫
one
嬉しい
that
け
we
ど
see
ショッ
picked
トガン
up very
環境じゃ
often.
ないからな
That's true, honestly.
て
There
か
are
あ
a
れだ
lot
ね
of things in
APAC
life
ノ
that I
ー
would like
ス
to
は
craft, but
今週めちゃめ
EVA8
ちゃメ
really
タ
isn't
変化
my
したけど
go-to. But
EMEA
we've
は
seen
変わって
different
ないね
things
あんまり
happen,
ね
and Vortex electing to hit the grav cannon
ジ
to
ムが
make
増え
their
たりとか
rotation, some peppering from afar is going to
したん
come
だ
their
けども
way, but not going to amount to
まあ
much. The
今
only thing
の
it's
バ
doing
ル
is
キリーの
giving Vortex the
あ着地
information
の
of,
直
hey, there's a
前で
team over here.
あれなんだ
And a
ジェッ
decent
ト
bit
パッ
of
ク出すと
information.
あや
Won't
あんな
really
感じで
hurt
滑れ
anyone,
滑れんだ
because right now they've
勉強
still
になる
got plenty of time to make their own way into the ring. This approach from the southern side actually not a bad one for Vortex to take, as it'll allow them to hopefully take a little bit more time in their approach to shipfall, grab some height, and
アンチが遠いからか
in
ボルテッ
most
クスは
situations like this, where we do have the zone, the second one pulling a little further south, you're
GG
thinking
は
it's
これ
going
や
to
るよ
end the
ね
open area around with the gravity cannon, maybe around the buildings
車移動
just
よ
to
く
the
やる
north
よね
of shipfall, but to shipfall
アンチ
direct,
こっ
that'd
ち
be a
じ
bit
ゃ
of a
ないでしょ
stretch,
で
so
も
we'll see
北
how
側に矢
Vortex
印
choose
さ
to
してた
approach.
からでもめっちゃ南集まって
This
き
is
て
where the
どうして
ring pull is going to be a significant factor and can be
南だわ。あれ、
really
なんで北側
grotesque
させ
to
たん
some
だ？
of the teams
あ、
if it
背の
goes
手
that
側だからか。
complete opposite way. Similar to how map 1 went, we
あ、
had a
め
lot
っ
of
ち
teams
ゃゲイ
hoping
ル、そう
potentially
だ
we
ね、
were
こ
going
っ
to see
ち
it in
側だね。
checkpoint, and then it pulled
うん
out
そう
the down
今
beast
キピ
where
させ
J-Lings
る
had a
とこら
perfect
辺
read
が
on
な
it.
りそう
So
最初
when
は
we think of where is J-Lings positioning themselves here and now, and they're electing to take the outskirts of Shipfall. Meanwhile, Game and Gladiators has the Pineapple. They're fencing up their position, taking space, so you can farm up Artico's shield just nicely.
And not a bad spot to play because not many teams will prioritize this either. You won't likely fall victim to a lot of squads that do want to take gambles on the edge, but Passion, it's almost the opposite situation. Landing over here by the gravity cannon. Yes, they won't fall prey to a lot of teams by edge, but I like the move from Amaze because you don't want to stay at this gravity cannon for the long haul. This is maybe a zone 3, zone 4 position. It is not a round 1 spot to hold.
Well, I respect what Amaz is doing here with the charge rifle, scoping out the beginning of Shipfall. There is a map room scan that is available over here that Zero Nothing could hit that would give them a little bit of information. But first you have to check and say, hey, is this space clear? Am I mirroring someone? And you 100% are. 2R1C has already taken advantage of this spot. Horizon gets completely decimated, forced to hit a med kit, which is going to take at least 8 seconds and put them out of the fight. And when your Valk is significantly damaged, yes, you can grab a shield swap, so you're upgrading to a purple shield. That's definitely going to help in this situation.
Yeah, thank God they were able to pick up the very quick swap in case they had to fight, because Passion very well could have been pushed. With 3 squads in the area, though, this comes down to risk. E6 waiting along the sidelines as well, playable on these fence lines, but everybody in this Shipfall area, rather the position just north of it, really don't want to fight if they can avoid it, because making an engagement happen now is forcing yourself out of the game in a very real way.
Yeah, I'm looking at Vortex in the back of Shipfall, 2R1C cohabitating with Outplayed. But then you mentioned it, E6, you have kinda on the rock, and with that new fragger to the team of Element 6, made such a difference in their prior match day. If he can get a solid off angle and maybe force some of those teams to start fighting, granted, 20 squads left, Ring 1 just now beginning to close and have that ending. Now we have 3 minutes here. So a lot of teams, I feel like you're just going to force each other, keep seer scanning, keep the information. Yarka is going to be utilizing the EMP to kind of burn shields for other teams and level up theirs.
One of the important things about Crypto Watson is that you're able to evo your shields with relatively low risk and keep them topped up without a whole lot of meds. Oh my lord! Finally get to see the Rampart Loba mix up, and it goes crazy.
You know, we were really talking about this early on, but it was actually Ashe Loba Rampart that we were discussing. I respect the Valk positioning, but they moved straight in, and that's going to be Game of Drones. When I saw that Valk crack, that's straight on to kind of forcing him off that rock and nestling down with his team. They need to not only focus on taking space so they don't get walked up on, but also mitigating and not wasting their heals here.
119. That's basically a charged sentinel shot to the face that was done with one tap of the wingman. That's an incredible turn during the course of even these intermediate level game events, as we are waiting for the rounds to continue to close before we get into true late game, and evidently Morningstars do not have that patience. A nice little wall bounce from Mask keeps the momentum going, but Morningstars have this kill in the bag, and it's time to disengage on the other side because you are not getting your squad mate back.
Mask turning into a little bit of a mountain goat, trying to find an LOS. Nightmare has retreated into the IMC armory, saying, hey, you know, you've already got that KP from me. We're not willing to part with any more members of our team. So now it's almost as if we're looking at a stalemate. Nightmare knows to disengage, and Morningstars, well, they just get to loot up on their kill.
A nice boon, and especially one that will need to be used.
裏からアンチが帰ってきた感じだ。ただ VCGO にバレた。
because Fish Farms is not in zone. There's a lot of open ground between you and safety. FUT even tanking some of the zone to try and find a small bit of territory for themselves. Shitfall's height is especially difficult to contest for, and that's what makes it so powerful in this mid game.
They did get punished. Now, granted, they are walking up on Vortex. If they can eliminate Vortex, who's second place overall on the day, this is a mission critical fight for them because they need to have as many points as possible if they want to find themselves in the top 10. Now, granted, Vortex Group C, double match days this weekend. They know that they're feeling confident and want to take that fight, but now Foot has been relegated to taking the lower side of Shipfall. They're playing the underneath, which can keep them out of line of sight from a lot of the teams that are in the nearby vicinity, but I would like to see them take down Vortex for that high ground.
In a way, Vortex at least temporarily do win that fight. They don't get kills, it doesn't look flashy, but FUT don't feel comfortable pushing high ground anymore, and this is where these small victories really start to count. Instead, they've got to bunker down inside of Shipfall, wait for squads to come to them to make mistakes, if anything, and FUT are put in a passive position in a game where they would much rather be playing things on their own schedule.
Morning Stars. Still rotating throughout the ring. They want to keep an eye out. V2 knows they are around this area, so Sivin taking some damage. Double time is going to be activated. It's going to help boost them around the rocks, and this is rather challenging for them, right? I mean, Morningstar is very much on the outskirts. They have to navigate their way through Gale Station, Dia. What do you think is the best course of action? They don't have a Valk.
It looks like, for Morningstars, the best course of action is not going through Gale Station, weirdly enough. They've chosen to just completely wrap around. We did say earlier that there was a lot of open ground that they'd have to cover to make it in, and they've chosen to just not participate in that narrative. Instead, moving down towards the crafter, they have a launch pad. You can persist in Zone 2 for a little while, and as long as you make it in towards the northern end of Antenna during this next zone, you have a chance of making it into the next ring. But I have to say, Tiff, this is a risky move from Morningstars, because if anyone sees them coming, there's a good chance that with how many squads are in Antenna, Morningstars disappear without ever setting foot in the next ring.
Another issue could be a mistimed med kit. Meanwhile, Nightmare Esports able to get Seven back into the fray here, just on top of Mirage 12, but everyone is going to see this res happening. That'll cue in their mind, hey, keep a lookout just for the right side of Gale Station. We could have a team that is down in numbers making a play, but Vortex holding the high ground from Shipfall impeccably well, just poke fighting and bullying all the teams in front of them. This could give them the potential to find some nice KP early on, but overall this is relatively healthy. We have 20 squads and we are looking down at the third ring.
Small adjustments from Vortex, itty-bitty ones, have kept them with ultimate high ground during as the course of this game continues. Their movements should be starting to shift in the next couple of minutes towards this eastern side, where, interestingly enough, Game and Gladiators and J-Link set up shop early. Even E6 actually among those that have prioritized the eastern side of the zone, and this next ring pull is going to determine a lot for all of those squads in Shipfall and the associated buildings off to the north.
Well, if we're going to have an engagement on the outskirts of the ring, Reply Totem versus V2 is going to be one for the ages. We saw just how well Jazz and Co were able to perform specifically in map number 1, but Sharp does get poked. As a seer, needs to anchor the position and be able to cancel any heals to allow Jazz and Arctic the success here. So as you see, they're taking a different approach for it, but V2 says, no, we don't want a part of this.
Respect the disengage, especially because Nightmare are coming in behind them, and behind Nightmare, we have Morningstars, and behind Morningstars, we have Bitfix Gaming that are approaching all from this eastern side, all from Fish Farms, and the low ground just off to the west of it. Gale Station is about to be home to many more teams than they would have expected, and again, with round 3 not offering any forgiveness in this regard, There's no time to be sitting outside of zone. Every crack and crevice of Gale Station needs to be maximized if all these teams are going to survive, and I don't think that most of them will.
Reply Totem with a nice wide swing. They were able to grab a knock onto 7, which means we are looking for one remaining member of Nightmare. Arctic does get reprimanded a little bit, but is going to reposition themselves. Let's touch base with Jazz and Reply Totem with a quick listen in to hear how they're going to engage the team in front of them.
あ、横もいるのか。それはこれちょっときついね。これちょっときつい。横邪魔だね。横切った方がいいんじゃない？
Careful, yeah, down here.
Yeah, that's a solo. Scan him,
ああ、そうか、あのソロはやりたいね。
He's on his feet.
ただあのソロをやりに行って、あ、いった、一人いった。
Look for the other team.
ただこれ行くと、横のチーム上取るぞ。
I'm not with you. They're all angling you.
Yeah, careful. You need to come back.
下に別がいて。
I crack one.
We need to start fighting egg.
Yeah, we need to.
大丈夫？
Yeah, I think so.
右は別でやってんだ。
I think so.
はあ、なるほど。
I can drop you. I can drop
Egg
you.
is looking. I
have two
右は
souls.
右でやってると。
Yeah, I'm 24 as well.
I'm gonna be 1-2. No, I'll be 1-2. I'll be 1-2.
Okay.
I have a bet.
Okay, look at zone by the way.
Yeah, we need to try and set up egg, no?
They have angle on left, on top.
さあ、どうやって入っていくかだね。
I think we can go egg. Yes.
I'm rolling.
リプライ通ってるとしたら右側を完全に潰して、そうだね、潰しに行く。潰しに行ってから、下のチームのブイツをやりに行きたい。ただ、
There's a team up here though. There's a team up here top.
あ、ベックスとオーロラがやってる。これは
Can we arm
強
that
い
from。cannon?
いや、ここから多分ベックスが別パイプっていう
Before we flash on the valve, I think.
コールが入ったけども、もう終わっちまったね。もう終わっちまった。これ全部
I
取
think
り
we
切
walk
る
down
ね。
to the house. I think we do fight house, no? Like you got
Yeah,
zero?
I think we need to get the KP. It's my zero. Yeah.
あー、目がある。インスコが欲しい。なんでこういう
They're
時ない
coming
んだ、
stairs
イン
maybe.
スコ
I'm
が。
pushing up on the side.
I'm with you, Jake, I'm with you.
I'm with you. I'm coming.
Wait,
Tight,
you
tight.
have to drop out. On the other side, on the other
返
side.
しに行った。
Don't go outside, Jazz.
あ、別や別だ
We need to send below. We need to send below. We need to send
別
below.
です。
Yeah, I'm expanding. We get expanded. Yeah, wait. I'm gonna block the door. I'm popping a ban. I'm popping a ban. I come, okay? They're fighting.
Yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready?
リプライ
通ってまあ自分たちがやりたいこと。いやー、デスボの山山
Crypto low swap, swap.
デスボの山だよ。
Yeah, just on. I misclicked. My nade.
あー、ミスクリップ。
I think I'm installed anyway.
Maybe I can live. I think this team's still staying on the spot.
あー、上にもまあいいのかよお前。いや、リプライ取ってるのは自分たちがやりたかったことをさらにやられたね。ちょっとこういう時にね、クリプトとかいないと自分たちに対する玉まで読めないんだよね。さあ逆に V2 はずっと我慢してただけでいけた。で、アセントは全部潰した後があるじゃん。ただクリプトで多分見る時間はなかったと思うな。クリプトで見る時間なかったから。なるほど。一旦そこ。一旦そこさ、後ろから V2 来るよ。さあどうする。GG はワットソン構成でなんかよくわかんないとこキープしてる。車で射撃作るか。いや、ワットソン流行りすぎじゃない。
Also with the Watson trying to navigate this rock, but there's one thing that is so hard to move around, and that is going to be the charge rifle. Every team seems to at least be running one person with the charge rifle, and it makes peeking and trying to make plays happen, especially at these times in the game, tough, because then you're literally nestled between a rock and a hard place, not where you want to be.
2かけ。
Makes me think frying pan fire as
well. OP だけかけ。
Little bit of roasting at the hands of the charge rifle.
GG2R1C、アセンド V2 がそれぞれ3かな。アセンド V2 は終わった？
ever waiting patiently to jump in from the north. 30 seconds on this next ring close, and we are all going to explode. Everybody has been setting up their next moves for the past minute and a half, and it's all going to come to a head right now.
2R1C beginning that engagement, eliminating J-Lings to advance such a stark rotation. Every fight that 2R1C takes from here on out will be mission to their success. You need to clean your back, but you brought up E6, Gaming Gladiators. GG
逆にこれはあれだね、ワットソンじゃなかったら守れないようなとこをワットソンのおかげで守れてるね。
You just need to withstand an EMP trying to negate, but a well-timed
さあ、
drone
津田ルワン氏は GG をもう詰めに行った。やったるぞと。
This is
右の車線だけ気を をつけて、ただ EMP 来てるよ。さあウサコがソロを一旦倒しに行った。さあアセンドはちょっと様子を見たけども、これ V2 カットできてんなアセンド。ああおいえ 2ROC が勝った。ただそれに対してエレメント6が来た。上からエレメント6ガスのウルトでボコボコだ。それに対してアセンドが裏カットして終わった。あ V2 まだいた。 V2 ほっといたんだ。アセンドは抑えてたんだ。さあ V2vs アセンド。さあこのウルトはどうだ。うわ強い。あいやアセンドファイトすげえ。
They don't even take damage in that last fight.
That is the killer
instinct that we have seen take Ascent to nearly an international victory, but it will crush here locally in EMEA in game number 3 of Stormpoint.
Ascend knew what they had to
グリ
do
プト使
throughout
ってる
all.
時のアセンド強っ。カシェラ強っ。
It felt like that.
13キルだって。皆さんバルクリプトワトですよ。バルクリプトワトコースで13キルを、しかもこれ結構毎回やってるからな、アセンドはね。マジでだからどっちかというと頑張れお父さんに近いかな。アンチェナが取るんだけどちゃんとキルも取りに行くっていうね。いやアセンド強えわ。アセンドほんとずっと毎回世界大会出てるからな。ヨーロッパの中で本当にずっと強い。まあ、V2 はキルポをねだいぶ毎回稼いできてるのでチャンピオン取ってないけども上位に位置してると。アセンドはずっと上位。リプレットも1個チャンピオン、プロテックスも1回チャンピオン。ジェイリングも安定した順位を稼いでて GG が今回上位にいたんだけれども多分キルポはあんま稼げてなくてポイントは伸び悩んでますと。ワールドエッジ期待です。かぶってますか。かぶってないけどスカイフックが近いな。かぶってないけどスカイフック近いな。ミラボヤやっぱ1個のランドマークとしては成立しないね。しないんだね。さすがに武士弱すぎるか。かぶりはないね。かぶりないです。いいですね。
Big points and just running away with it at this point. And I think that that could happen. 2R1C also in that position. Reply totems fallen by the wayside after getting a big win. But
ど真ん中、まあこれは
even if they
ハーベスタに
win,
よるでしょうね。
are
ただこ
so
のハー
far
ベスタの
behind that
左なのか
64
右なのか
points
下なの
with
か
their respective 27 in the league
どっち
standing.
によ
Even
る
if
か
they
ってのが
win,
見どころ
they're
で
not
す
really a
ね。
challenge. So that's someone else you would be
ま
happy to
あ
have points go to. It
左
all
か
is a
な。
little bit
中
of
継
a
側
math
にな
game.
る気がす
If
るけど
this,
な。
then that game in
サンシ
Apex
スハウス
Esports
と
right
か
now, and that's
こ
why
ち
we're
ら辺
keeping
じゃない
you
んで
up
す
to
か。
date with it.
どうなんで
As
す
Game
か。
4 of World's Edge begins, you see the teams
綺麗
out
に
of
分
the
かれてる
dropship
ね。
starting to loot, and boy, in the center of it, in the center of the circle,
相
Aurora.
当初動ファイ
They
ト嫌がってる
desperately
みん
needed
な安
something
定
to
して
go
取
their
ってほしい
way.
から。
It hasn't. Maybe this is the start of it.
Yeah, Harvester,
ラ
Thermal
バシテ
Station,
ィとビ
two
ッグモード分け合うのは
POIs,
だ
two
いぶ
teams
物資
that
がな。ビッグモードが
desperately
きつい
both
な。
need a ring console and a survey beacon, so they'll have access to the information that will give them solid
エクストがラバシャイフォン
rotations.
取ってんだ。それは強いで
LCDF,
す。
Foot Esports, splitting Lava City and Big Mod, and Ascend electing to go
Ascend
Dome. Your
って
map
嘘
two
どうされて
winners, starting things
なんだ
off with two
マジ
blues.
Desperately needed something to go
マジ
their
焦る
way. It has.
頑張ってん
Seems
ね
like Valkyrie Seer and Bangalore certainly staying on the top. You wonder if you'll see these two teams, two characters specifically, Tiff, ever drop out of that 75, 85 range as the meta kind of keeps a relatively similar identity. You kind of swap it with the Bang, and I bet we'll see on the other page of it a lot of split characters in that 40%. You see Catalyst at 35, Watson 25. Not a many crypto teams, but you know Ascend is one of them.
これ
And
今
2R1C, the
2R1C
other
は
2R1C finding
相
some
手
poke damage
ワットソン
from
フ
the
ェンスを張
sky,
って
but
た
it's
けども
Aurora
多分
who know and love
アンチ
their
がやった時に
fighting
戻ってこれるように
capabilities,
っていうの
but
とね
these
少しでも
haven't been working out for
敵
them.
の
Suns have already fallen.
移動を減らそうという
Step up.
中オーロラが強いです。
Nightmare Esports down. Dia, or Raydad, my apologies. This is what we wanted.
Oh,
아,
this is what we
빠르른.
wanted, but is it what
빠르른
Aurora
시대다네.
wanted? This has to be one
た
of
だ
the
漁
best
夫
Dark Veils ever. I mean, it's got to send them into the Twilight Zone and give them time
SF
to
が
come
漁
back,
夫
but
に
it's
来ました
not.
と。
It's not at all. And Startify Esports starts a fight right when Aurora wanted to end one. And that will be the story of Aurora this season. Sunset,
キャンドルか。
he will fall.
じゃあ
That
SF
might
関
be
係ねえ
Aurora
か。
out. I'm not sure if he got taken outside or if that was just a finish off that we saw in the
さあ
kill
カ
feed.
ウントダウン読みが多いのかな。
We'll confirm.
中継か。
Yes,
中
it
継読み
seems
が
like
多いの
Aurora's
かな。
still alive, but my
結
goodness.
構集まってきてる
That
ね。
is not a
中
great
入
Mayday,
り
I just get so
ってわ
excited
け
and
で
now
も
my
ないか。
heart
カ
hurts,
タリ
but
スト
it's
ここの
booming
チ
for
ームは
starter
近いだけ
fights.
か。
They needed to do that. It was a perfectly timed third party, and you can't fault them for doing what they want. And Aurora just unfortunately caught another short end of a 3v3
増えてんね。やっ
isolated
ぱ
fight that is no longer
あれ
isolated.
か
In
みん
Apex,
な
when you think
ネ
about
メシ
the
ス持つ
engagement
ネ
that
メシ
you're
スばっ
going
か
to
り今売ってん
take,
の。
you have to realize
ネメシスばっ
how
か
much
り味
time
方
do
持
you
ってると
need to
噛まなくなる
reset
から
after an engagement before that
ライト
third
武器が
party
人
comes
気ないか
in
ら
if there was
R400
nothing
持
they
ったや
could
つ
do.
作るかっつってジャン負けしたやつが R400 なんだろうなき
Tough
っと。
spot to be.
じゃんけん勝ったやつがネメシスなん
And
だよ。
maybe to be continued. But it is looking dismal. I'm starting maybe to lose a little bit of hope in that one. But we'll still keep our eye on it. Vexed as
スコー
well.
プなしでそ
They
んな
had
当た
a
るんですか。
slow start, but in
ついに
many ways, with the Gibraltar,
ついにジブ、
going
そして
back to the
イ
old
ニシエの
Metafe, IGLing from the
イニシエ
Gibby,
の
a support character, and
海外
support characters
ワールド
being
1構
played
成
here in this current
ジブ
meta.
ガスバル。
Alongside a Caustic and a Valkyrie, you have to wonder, you know, a
ヨーロ
very
ッ
interesting
パとか
approach.
NA はも
Is
う
this
これしかい
testing
なかったもん
in
ね
a
知識。
high-level lobby for something that could work at LAN? Is this testing for something that could work at
バ
regional
ル環
finals?
境が流
It
行
is a bit
ってからは
presumptuous
ずっとこれだっ
to
た
say
ね。
we're
バル
already
ジブ
there,
ガス。
we're already at the big event, but I also think if you can do it, it's good to get some practice in. It's good to test some things in the most serious environment
さあ
possible
GG
where
はこ
teams
の
are
ポジション取
truly
ったけ
doing
ども
everything
こ
they
のポジショ
can
ンは
just to get into the
見
big
ると
show.
かが多いので
Yeah, it seems to me that a
わ
lot of teams are focusing
Nemesis
forward.
マジで
Meanwhile, GG
痛い。いやー
meleeing their
切れない
teammate to get them out of vantage sight from that team, but unfortunately, still taking some damage.
押せる。
J-Lings
うわやばい。
also eliminated
うわー
early
ギリギ
on
リ。
here from the first match on World's Edge,
う
and
んもうそうだ
Artico
ね。
forced
一
to
旦
throw up the dark veil
一旦
for
だ
them
ね。
to potentially run to cover.
いやその車線
You
通
only
り
get
過ぎんだよ
25
ここ
seconds。here though before that goes down, but Hardeki able to make it inside to Harvester, Artico, and Leo Green, not too far behind them.
下に降りたね。あそこは守りきれ
Tyler
ねえって
FPS
当てす
and
ぎ。
unlucky, 2 of our top 10
さ
high performers in
あ
kills
よ
over
く
the
この
current
第一
split
円
two
セント
season.
す
They'll
るよ
add
ね。
at least 2 more as Lasita fronts,
キルスピードが速いってのと
and that's nothing to slouch at as well.
いや
Cyclops,
今ジブいい動きだったね。ちゃんと今カバーでドームハック準備してたね。書いたかわかんないけどめっちゃ良かったね。
Morning
あ
Stars,
ー消えた。
they need some points.
いやファイト
You can tell
多すぎくない？
the pace has shifted
あれアンチ
dramatically.
中ムーブは
Things
どこ
are
行ったの？
going at 100 miles an hour here.
ファイ
Morning
トしすぎ
Stars,
ファイトしすぎ。まだ
Seven trying
第
to do
1円だよ。
something crazy
さ
and
っ
won't
き第
be
3
done
円で
though.
20部隊いたじゃん。
1C continues with the kills. They're in 6th place. They're gonna
なん
add
で
more
急
to
に
the
ワル
talent.
ワルゼッチ。
Phoenix gonna be feeling the burn right there.
アンチムーブ
knowing
だから
that
こそか。
2R1C is
アン
at
チ
their
ムーブ
heels,
だからこ
but here
そ
comes
強
the
いとアンチを
perfectly
取りに行く
timed
ために
third party from GG. Some beautiful shots
戦
out
闘
of
してるんですね。
Hardeki or Hardwig today, and
うわ
a
強い。
wide swing to find the nice initial knock. Now they should be able to
いや
clean
当て
this
すぎ。
up.
And look at this. Gaming Gladiators, maybe
さあさっ
starting
き
to find some
ピンチ
rhythm.
だったゲームグラ
It
デ
was
ィエ
a
ーター
strange,
逃げた先で
strange
漁夫
event
成功。
not having Gaming Gladiators
あやっぱ
around,
中
not
継が
having
寄ったね
Hardeki.
アン
In
チね。
fact, the story of this team making it into the Sweden land just last year, and then all of a sudden kind of falling by the
い
wayside,
や美味
just
しい武士。
not getting the results they
3
wanted.
人青アーマー
It
だっ
turned
たの
into
に。
a terrible split one. They
美味
didn't
しいオーロラは
qualify
一人
for
逃
the
げます。
split one land, and now coming back out of obscurity almost
戦
with
闘
a
勝ったのに
vengeance.
ね。漁夫
Gaming
来ちゃったよ。
Gladiators has really put on
さ
a
あこ
solid
っから
performance,
カタリスト
winning
ソロかき
match
つい
day,
ね。
I believe number 5 it was, A versus C, and then placing quite well, I think 7th place in the last match
さあ
day,
アセンド
number
は
7. So they
火
have
力側
continued
で
to be
何
a
を見てい
threat
る？
late in this
あ入れ
season,
るとこ見て
Tiff,
る
and
の
I
か。
think that's got to be a
なるほ
fan.
ど。バルジャンの
That's
準
got
備
to
です
be
ね
at。least good for fans of Hardeki
あ
wanting
バル
to
ジャン
see
い
him
らねえ
back
わ。
on the big stage.
Oh, I'm excited to see him
Double
on
jump
the
が
big
できる。
stage as well.
Hardeki,
Hopefully
man.
they can get there. And, you know, we were talking about their performance, and he was kind of reflecting on things back in December. And it's
そう
good
クリ
to
プ
see
トい
them
るとね
start to
多
find
少後ろからでも
success. Kind of
ク
the
リプトで見れる
Hardeki
か
of
ら
old, but Cleave
ちょ
from
っとアン
Aurora
チトークでもね
still
入れ
alive
る
where
んだ
we
よ
last saw
ね。
them navigating the vault
これがねこの
cave
構成の強み。
ascend. Get the map room
後入
scan
りも
and then
そうキルはするわ
immediately
けじゃない
take
け
the
ど
buildings
クリプ
outside
トで見
of
てバルで
thermal.
入るって
So
ことが
they
可能な
need
んで
to
す。
set up for that long game rain day, and we saw just how well they played map 3. But moving on over to World's Edge, where do we think they're going to go from here?
そうだ
You know,
ね。
I think when you consider that this
こ
is
の
probably a
3
stronger map
この
for
3体の
Sin.
構
I think they're
成
just
は
gonna
多分
continue
ユナイ
to
トが
run away
初
with
め
it.
てや
Their
ってたと思う
fundamentals
ん
are
だけ
so
ど
strong. And what I mean
まあ
about
一
that
個の
is they
発
just
明
give
だよねこれ
themselves
はね。
every opportunity to succeed. They are
そも
not
そ
the
もク
best
リプ
team
トが流行
fighting
ってなか
squad.
った
They
か
are
らそ
not
も
the
そもね
squad with, you know, Vexed with
ワット
Tyler
ソンはね
FPS and
昔
Lucky, both
ほん
of
と
them in
最
the
初
top
期の
10 kills. Fire Beavers,
エ
you
ー
know,
ル
leading
世
those
界
top
大
10
会で
kills.
さワットソン
With
流行って
Alliance
さ
with that
強かった
crazy
時
fragger. They're all three good, solid
で
players
まあバル
who
は
know
ずっ
the
と使っ
game
てるでし
well,
ょって
who
なった
make
時に
smart
クリプトを
decisions
使
and
おう
work
っていう
together.
のを
Because
クリ
when
プ
you
ト
look at
使っ
this
てアン
lineup,
チ
this
中
is
見
this
て
would
から
be a
やろう
hard
ぜっていう
lineup,
のを
I
ユ
think,
ナイトが
for a
ね
lot of teams to play.
あ
You got
まあ
a
でも
crypto,
組
you
み合わ
got a
せか
Watson,
最
you
初に
got
クリプト
such
使い始め
team
たのは
utility and
シコ
synergy
ロ
that
クか
needs to
な
be at a high level
シ
for
コロク
those
は
two players,
クリプト
those two
ガスロー
characters
バ
to
で
succeed. That I think you have to give up some of
ア
your
ンチ中ム
individual
ーブしてる
aggressiveness
ところに
and
そ
give
の
up some of your
クリプト
individual
っていう案
identity
と
and Ascend do it wonderfully. So I
バル
really
ワット
think
ソンっ
that
ていうのを
this
組み合わせ
could
た
be
の
a
が
redemption arc for them in Split 2,
ユ
losing
ナイト
out
なの
narrowly
か
in
な
Split
まあ
1. But
独
today,
自
I
の
don't
も
see
のだよ
anybody
ね
stopping them unless
この
something
構成
drastically
は
changes.
Speaking of drastic
それが
changes,
ね
Split
世界大
Esports
会で
nearly
ユ
mirroring
ナイトが
Game
世
and
界3位
Gladiators
かな
able to
取
get
っ
the
た時に
Valk ult
めっ
rotation
ちゃ広ま
off
ってヨーロッパでめっちゃ流行ってるヨーロッパはほんとそっからユナイトが見せたからめっちゃ使ってるよねこの構
being
成
able to move here at this portion of the game, you can see they have that
これ
next
だっ
ring
てなったん
scan
だろうねヨーロッパ
available
の
to
人たちも
them.
ね
They're calling out a
これ
team
強いじゃんアン
nearby
チ
coming
アン
out
チ
of
ナイ
that
ムーブ
tunnel,
っ
and
つって
that's where we last saw Cleave.
That's right. That tunnel's got a lot of action going on. Right near Harvester as well. One of the interesting things, too, I didn't want to point out as well, Tiff, now that I was on the topic of Crypto and Watson, is just the fact that they're getting that recon scan from the survey beacons. They're also getting the ring console scan from controller, having the Watson and the Crypto being a part of the new recon class alongside Seer. So in many ways, you think they're giving up some of that info from the traditional Seer and maybe even a Catalyst that we've seen with Bangalore paired with Valkyrie. But no, they're really keeping up pace just in a different way. And I think that's one of the benefits to running this composition with the Crypto Watson, where they kind of used to almost overlap as these are two defensive characters. No, now I think they really do have their own identities in a nice way. So kudos again to Respawn and the Season 16 classes. I think we've just gotten way better. And to Phoenix's point, allowing people to play to their identity and not just the meta, that's happened way more this season.
Well, when I think of
さあ
crypto,
FUT
I
は
immediately think of
まあ
Kashera.
このぐらい
And I
の時
looked
間
back
帯だ
at
と
the pick rates for
ちょっ
this
とずつ
season
守れ
to
るようになっ
reiterate
て
your
くるね
point.
ここのアンチ
Crypto
は
Valk Watson
こ
up
こを最後
until
まで
this
キープ
match
でき
they
る
had
と
an
相当順位が上がる
8.45% pick rate. That is so minimal compared to individual legend stats. Seer has a 77% pick rate, and that's post nerf.
Yeah. I mean, that just
痛い
says to
ロングボー
oh
痛い
boy,
って
loaded
痛いっ
kit,
てロングボー
loaded shot right there, beautiful headshot from distance. What's that? 400 meters? My goodness, maybe even 500 with a heady and the skull piercer. Now showing what he could do with the long.
130ロングボーで100発以上持つ
Not a
やつい
weapon we
ねえ
see
よ
too often in competitive
もう
nowadays. But
全部撃ってやろうという気持ちですけどそれ当たるそれ当たったら俺ちょっと飛
it's
び出
right
ちゃう
up
か
there
も
with the best of them.
It's definitely
さすがにだ
tippable,
ね
especially
安心
with
した
the skull piercer on it. I feel like Noth is working towards his sniping montage, and
ビッ
if
グ
the
モードの
game
舞台がい
goes
る
well
な
and can connect some headies, that's exactly what I would like to see.
さあ
But
先導
my
した
only issue here
やっぱり
is
ムーブが
Ascend's position
ムー
now
ブ
for
が
the
パルブ
next
と
ring.
似
Yes,
てる
they have the
パル
interceptor
ブもここ
pylon.
取るから
They're
ね
going to be
こ
able
の
to
アンチ
fence
の
this
時に
off, but with teams
マジで似てんな
surrounding
ム
them
ーブ
on the high ground, I could only imagine they're going to get focused.
Yeah, and Ascend's still here. They've moved, like you said, out of that building. Watson kind of makes her own cover. The issue is surviving this
こ
onslaught.
れ
where
もちゃんと
teams
クリプトで
start
したい
to
ないことを
slowly
確認
move
して
in
から
and
バルジャン
try
に
to
入っ
get
てきた
aggressive.
ね
And you also have to pay
そう
attention.
この位置は
You know,
めっ
if
ちゃ
there
弱え
is
んだよ
2R1
めっちゃ弱えんだけれど
still
も
in this, whereas you could actually
系
see
統を買わない
Aurora
位置
still
という
in
こと
this,
で
ratting it out.
順
Just
位
a
ポイントは伸
good
ばせ
thing
る
to
キ
head
ル
up.
ポイントは伸ばせないけど
And I
も
don't
順
think
位ポイントは伸ばせ
2R1C
るという
is.
ね
You just got to
そ
worry
うい
there's
うポ
three
ジション
cryptos in
で
this.
す
That's
と
really
シ
the
ョーマ
only
ルさんが
thing
言って
that
まし
can
た
mess up this
気に
whole.
するべきは
And I'm not sure if the
GG の位
third
置ね
crypto is alive.
エー
2R1C
パックノー
seem
ス
to
の
be
試合
out.
だと CR があそこにいて
And so
もう
that
全部
will
ぶっ
leave
潰してました
Ascend free for
全部
now
ぶっ潰して
as
下からなんと
things start to
崖上に登っ
get
て
contested and congested
チャンピオン取るっていうね
at Harvester.
激ヤバムーブをしてましたので GG の位置は、CR っぽい動きをすればワンチャンある。上でビットフィックスが先行してるけども、これまた
pulled out of Harvester between staging, and it was one of the nastiest things. Speaking of nasty, we've got Bitfix Gaming trying to defend their space here on the map with Tricks already down, Cracked forced to take the heal, not able to join the fight, but able to get it off just in time for Zerafer to be able to trade that out. This is beautifully done. They're trading the heals, and you can play your teammate's knockdown. You see that Tricks has kind of moved back, and they're going to actually try to stick the res.
And this is going to be a good pull or a bad one. We'll see in about 30 seconds because it's either going to go towards Harvester or it's going to pull all these teams fighting right now out into the open and ascend. Right in the middle, keeping track of it to be able to adjust either way. Zerafer's worried about getting out alive on this one though. And he's just going to get that shield battery. Precious seconds.
さあ、ビットフィックスはなんと勝ち切る。なんと勝ち切った。
Not going to spot anything out, but
GG の漁夫はない。
these moments of life are maybe all that you need, all that Bitfix Gaming needs to turn this
なんと
around.
GG の漁夫はありません。
In game number 4.
Playing patient, they have the ring at their back. V2 also
ダウンが入ってないと見て GG はいけなかったね。
Esports, right? They're going to be really aggressive. They want a piece of this.
さあ、ビットフィックスは戦闘は仕掛けるも毎回負けてたんですが、やっと勝てて3ポイントもらえてます。
V2
がソロかな、それは。FUT もちょっと様子見に来たけど、あれはディオか？互角です。あ、まずい、あ、それまずい、それまずいよ。あ、もう格好の餌食で、しかもあんなバルみたいにふわふわって上上がったらネメシスと上ハンド全部当たるよ。あー、ホライゾンの強えな。ちょっとアンチ、ちょっと期待よったね。ちょっとエパックノースの時より崖側。ランドスライド側に寄りました。
The only thing Bitfix has is the Bangalore smokes available to them, and you do get a couple charges, and the smoke does last approximately 23 seconds, and that should be enough for you to make a rotation play off of, but you have to clear out your back first, and Bitfix is recognizing that is what we need to do. We need to take out V2. Beautifully done, but Foot Esports is lying in wait. They were able to get out with their life and reset.
Yeah, and this is, I think, what's made it difficult for Bitfix because this roster is meant to be aggressive. You don't utilize the horizon to bang as much as Bang can buy you a little time. She buys you time in that open space. Inside a building, people are just running right through to it, and also probably having Digithread. So they've got to get aggressive and set the tempo. But Esports, they got a little bit of everything. You'll see them coming with the exhibit. They have a high ground, plus the catalyst. So I would back off. Doesn't seem like that will be the premier target. Foot should feel safe for now.
さあ、中継側は飛ぶな。あれは飛びます。あれは飛ぶね。高い位置取ったね。SF はそのまんま入ってるけど、遮蔽がないよ。左潰したいね。あー、右側の車線を切っても左潰しに行ったね。まあ、潰すっていうか、押したね。押した。あっち側別に回れるからね。こっち側に来させないようにしたね。明日戻れるか？わーな、こっち側から来ちゃった。挟まれてだ。エレメント6が挟んだね。FUT も挟んでる。ただみんなかけてない？1かけでした。嘘。全然1かけ。さあ、その上強すぎ。ビットフィックス今回は戦闘が非常に強いです。さあ、強い。そのバル強い。いつの間にかアセンドはやられ、ベックスと VCGO を VCGO きついね。VCGO は後ろから持たれちゃう。あー、それきつい。あー、生き残ってない
the top eight on the low ground. They don't have any time to reset. They just have to focus on shield box, but now Bitfix is getting focused.
それさ、ランドスライドがどうなってる？ランドスライドがエレメント6だけじゃね？いや違う。あれか。もう一チームいたわ。2-2だ。2-2で分かれてる。ただそのもうこの賭けはやるしかねえんだよな。飛んだ。マジどこ行くんそれ。それどこ15秒ゾーン。一旦15秒ゾーン。あ、落とされた。落とされちゃった。この部隊数でも落とされちゃうんだ。さあ、エレメント6張り付きに来た。EFG を押してって逆側にぶつけようという作戦だね。ビットフィックスは挟まれないように逆に挟みに行く。挟み合いです。こうなったらエーペックスは挟み合い。そうで押して引く押して引くね。押して引く。いやうまい。ビットフィックスはうまいよ。いやこれも均衡がお互い押し付け合いだ。ただこういう時にランパート強いよ。押すのは得意だよランパート。押すというか押されないことが強いね。うまい。うまい。いいよ。そっちから来ないようにするのか。あーみんな回復した。すごい。ホライゾンが。さあ、エレメント6とゲームオブドローンか。返しいた。返しいた。MC？ うえ、エレメント6。結構キル稼いだんじゃない？いや、キル盛んだったね、今回。はい。あ、そうでもない。858443152か。すごい。キルがバラバラです。初回から戦闘してたもんね、みんなね。はい、ということで、アサインド変わらず1エレメント6が2位まで踊り出ましたよと。あとはまあチャンピオン取ったチームが軒並み並んでると。全然わかんないな。あと2試合でしょねえ、全然。J リーグぐらいまではまだまだ一応目指せる圏内におります。ただアセンドがポイントを積み重ねるから、こういうチームから初動値が少ないチームからどうやって1を奪い取るかっていうところも見ものですと。じゃあ5試合見に行きましょう。
Earlier, the importance of game plan of IGLs that can adapt have been lacking in that ability to shift up their game plan when it does come to the immediate aftermath of the first fight. They're very mechanically talented. It is what got them in a position where they qualified to our first LAN. And yet, coming into Split 2, be it the meta shifts, whatever it may be, because there are a variety of factors as there are in any VR, things have changed for Aurora, and the grasp they once had on the teams in this region has loosened significantly, while others seemingly have taken that step up. I'm thinking of Vex landing just off to their south over in Lava Siphon. They've got a ring console, and they know where this one's ending, all the way up in the north near 2R1C, and Morning Stars with Bitfix Gaming.
たまにある。
Nice rotate in, as do V2 on immediately the east and west sides respectively of Zone 2.
As I'm looking to this, the only thing I can think of is Ascend doesn't typically land Dome. They had prior landed north on World's Edge, and this would have been such a good zone for them because they've won. If this pulls towards Fragment West and Epi and exactly where 2R1C is, Ascend has taken a victory in a similar situation.
アンチ内は結構入ってくんじゃないかな。とりあえずフラグメントみたいな。未来はないんだけどね。未来はないけど安定したポイントのためにフラグメントを取るかな。
They knew that compared to other squads, they have a lot to lose in terms of the points. They don't want to give up too much because their playoff spot is still one that could be a little bit more secure. So they're playing things slow, minimizing risk as we approach international competition. And honestly, I think it's a really wise move.
早いね。ゲーミンググラディエーターめちゃめちゃアンチムーブだよね。
Taking a bit of a risk with an early Valkyl, not a whole lot of shields. However, they get a building just to themselves, and it's a nice one.
Hey, look, if you're already kind of staking your claim to this building here in Fragment West, the best thing about Fragment Zones is all of the buildings in the space and allows a lot of teams to coexist. We're talking about a game that could have the potential of 20 teams in ring number 4, but we say that and it's V2 and Nightmare that are already getting into it. You know they were vying for the survey beacon here for that information. The Dark Veil's already been expended and V2 has the inside of the building with a catalyst to reinforce.
Unfortunately,
V2
Nightmare shouldn't
珍
want
し
the
くアンチないムー
inside.
ブ。
They're putting on a little bit of pressure right now, but it's a
やっぱ
pressure
どのチームも
just
近かったらアン
built
チだ
to
な。
keep
だから
them
このアン
safe.
チだ
They're
と
going to
み
be
んな
allowed
近
to
いから。
coexist underneath. Perhaps not
で
the
もう
best
下しか入
spot
ると
should
こねえんだ。
other teams start to arrive. But
ア
one
セ
should
ンド
keep
とか
them
どうすんだろうね。遠いけ
relatively
ど。
easily placed for now. As at this moment, you have the opportunity to collaborate with teams above you to keep other bigger threats at bay. Say perhaps like J-Lings that are just off to the east.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because some teams do elect to coexist and try to say, hey, we're just going to maybe not fight here until after Zone 3 because we don't want to attract the attention of the teams. And as we have still some Valkyls making their way to frag, they will have the benefit of just existing.
And it's really nice. It's actually why we're seeing so many teams do this with very few shields as well. ANC outplayed just the most recent example that's arrived, but if you are a team that's predicting, even saying there's an off chance that this zone takes us into Fragment, you want to be there immediately. There's no time to waste picking up shields around the side because making your way into Fragment later is atrociously difficult. So for teams like ANC outplayed that are making their way in quite quickly, even for squads like Gaming Gladiators that did so moments before, it's all that race against time on the off chance that all of a sudden it's going Fragment and you just can't move.
Well, Izadon looking to just put the pressure on the team below, saying, I understand that you want to coexist, but I'm going to one-up you. Meanwhile, off-screen, Aurora and Ascend are duking it out. Ranches and Sunset have already found 2 knocks, and they're still incredibly healthy. So, a little bit of congestion here at the Harvester, and a bit of a finish to really put the salt on the wound.
Lets us know that it wasn't even close when Aurora have the space to pull off the finisher. It's Harvester. Nobody is around to save you. But the nice thing is that Kashera plays the super hero.
マジでうめえな。
Pick up
ス
there
ーパー
using
ヒー
the
ローだ
drone
マ
just
ジで。
before it's destroyed to grab the banners of his
もう
2
プロすぎる。
squad mates. Might just mean that Ascend get to play this out as a 3-man squad,
カシェラが
even though they went
追
down
ってくる
early.
のもちゃんと警戒して。
This is why Kashera on Crypto is
マジで
so
クリプトうめえ。
impactful. This is not something that is new or recent. There are always times where Kashera is able to recover those banners and have a full
マジでう
reset.
めえわ。
We've seen it on land, we've seen it in
かっ
split
こよ
1,
す
we've
ぎ
seen
る。
it in split 2, and now it's coming to fruition. And Lufka and
これ
Posey
で
are
ポイント
coming
マジ
back to
全然
join
違えから
Ascend
な。
over in Lava Siphon. But I can't imagine that Aurora is
さすがっす。
going to let this happen.
I don't think so. They are down bad for points. Aurora need to be picking up steam today, and right now they are on the hunt.
あ、ただオーロラが
From branches of
許さん
land
と
wherever
さっき
he
のリ
wants.
ブー
Will
トの
Clean
借り返したるで
Sunset
と言わん
lay
ばか
down
り
the
に
path. This is a bit risky. You don't know what you're dropping into
2
over here
キ
by
ルポ
Lava
からお前
Siphon,
らを
but you
5
can
キ
be
ルポにしてやろ
reasonably
うと
sure that it ain't a whole lot of armor.
ただ
Yeah, I mean,
リ
Cleve
ス
at this
キー
point
だよ
is basically just armor checking Lufka and Posty. They're just coming in. Lufka down to 1 syringe and a Phoenix kit, so not going to have a lot of health to boot
た
for
だ
this.
ブッシュ
They
は
haven't
意外と
found a
集まって
gun
る
yet, and we know that Aurora
回
can be
復あるよ
so aggressive, and
さすがにオーロラは諦めたと
they're
いやオーロラこ
actually
の
disengaging from the
この
fight
移動の
here.
遅れがどう出るか
One of the very few times that we see this
アセン
happen
ドはね
in
クリ
Lava
プトいるから
Siphon,
ね
but those carts
遅れても
change
多少入れる
everything.
ん
The
だけど
fact that they go so quickly and are able to buy enough space
さあ
between
オーロラは
Aurora
アンチ
and
ムーブ
Ascend
どうする
is
か
the difference maker. Because if it's just Ascend running on foot, they do not make it out alive. So those small little armored carts that you see moving in between the little buildings in Lava Siphon managed to save an entire squad, at least temporarily, because this ain't looking too good.
Unfortunately, Kashera going to go down, and Lufka and Postkill are not going to have the heals to boot to be able to tank this zone and focus on getting the res off. So at this point,
スーパーヒーローカシラが狙われるのか
even though Kashera just did everything they could to
しかも
bring the teammates back, and LCD with the late rotation out of Geyser are basically nearing the position that Ascend is trying to get in. Unfortunately, Postkill going to fall to the ring as well.
And it's funny that you say as well, because that's how Kashera went down. It wasn't a bullet from anyone else. It was simply going down to just zone 1 damage. It's why these heals are so important. Having flesh meds early on in the game, or at least access to a crafter when you dip right back out of zone. Lufka has absolutely nothing right now, and with a minute left on this next zone close, with no information on what's ahead of him, Ascend's chances get smaller by the second as to how they're going to be able to access this
さあオーロラが
future
キルを
play.
非常に稼い
You
でます
say Lufka has no idea what's ahead of him, but it's going to be a menacing Aurora who just eviscerated Reply Totem, who tried to rotate through Harvester. Harvester with the ring console, with the map room scan, is now going to be in the LOS for once again another team.
Just Wraith things. I got to imagine that it's the Seat de
オー
France
ロラはもう
come
どんどんオーロラはど
over
ん
to
どん
follow up
ど
on
ん
what
どん
they've
稼ぎたいね
already found in terms of their success up against Ascend. Aurora may be able to take this fight, but this is where we've talked about them perhaps struggling a little bit more than anticipated this season. It's in these secondary engagements in the future rotations, and right now, rotations have to be on their mind. 20 seconds left to make their way into zone. Ascend have Lufka going back for the bodies. Is he going to be able to pick them up? 4 seconds left. He's not going to find post-kill, but Kashera actually will be recovered
まあまあでもカシェラ取れただけでかい
That's impressive. The last we saw Lufka hurting for meds on a white shield, now on purple, getting at least 1 banner, and Aurora still alive. Resetting, utilizing the Pearson spikes to kind of anchor off space inside of Harvester, but you've got to take to your rotation. Don't worry about those secondary engagement or even third at this point, because you already won a fight. Then you took down Reply Totem. Now focus on getting into that end game, because you need to have placement points to couple with the KP that you have earned. So last we saw Ring Dia is going fragment. Aurora's making their way through staging, potentially the vault area. What do they need to do as a Valkless comp to make it into such a contested space?
Gotta find a crafter, that's for sure. Not a whole lot of med kits on ranches, and these syringes are going to be their lifeblood, and I mean it almost literally. Aurora have very little in the way of survivability outside of this zone, although what they do have is a bit of a scan over by staging, being able to pick up the survey beacon while start a fight, make their way down to the south, countdown, hitting shots in the back instead.
なんかアンチ地形からみんなアンチなんか入るかなと思ったけど、もう終盤も終盤、特に A はね最後だからキルポを取りに行ってるね。
With just a sniper tower between them, let's see how Start a Fight navigate this.
This is what they needed to do. You cannot walk this one in, because there's going to be teams that are sitting in these points waiting for teams to come out of countdown. We talk about Valkyries lately all the time with the charge rifle being so prevalent in play, and they are completely sighted. Light, blast, they have to hit syringes. They're not be able to make this happen. Yeah, going down.
戦闘したくてしゃあないじゃん。バーサーカーになってるじゃん、オーロラ。
Already under pressure, have Aurora coming up on them. We did say that Aurora needed meds. They not only have a crafter, they've got essentially mobile med stations right ahead of them if they can take the fight up against Starfight. However, blasts
音は
pops
聞こえなかっ
up,
たらし
takes
い。
that swing, and doesn't get punished for it, leading me to believe that Aurora are playing this cautiously.
いやオーロラもやりたい。おいやったやったや
Cautiously
った。
is what they need
や
to
った
do
やった
because
やっ
they
た。
have to take
もうキル
everything
ポ
with
すべ
intent
てのキ
and
ルポ
cleave.
俺たちによこせと言わん
Doubling
ば
the
かりの
distance has the digi threat
攻
on
め
the
る攻める
R9.
第3位ですよ。
It's really tough to get good
皆さんラン
sightlines
クの時に
inside
第
of the
3位で
zone,
こ
and
ん
they
な
know they're
平
going
然
to
と
be
戦闘できます
reprimanded
か皆さ
nearby
ん。
with that charge rifle team, but it's giving them information as they make light work of start a fight.
I
焦っ
love
ちゃ
the
う
word
よ
you've been using
俺だったら
for these
第3位って
charge
どのくらいから
rifle
回復負けばいいんだっけっ
days
つって
as well.
足りないよっつって
Reprimanded is an
disgusting, right?
excellent. I mean, but it's a great way of putting what's happening on our screens because
素晴
Aurora
らしいっす。まあ
don't
キアもあ
really
るから
have to be worried
それが
about
救
taking
いだ
that
ね。
fight. It's just a charge rifle for a little bit of damage, but it is a
さあ
warning
カタ
shot
リスト
saying,
大
"Hey,
丈夫大丈夫だね。
just so you know." That's not going to be cool all the time.
さあ
You extending
もう
this
ラン
fight
チェスが
is
生き
going
生き
to
としてる
kill
ね。
you, and Aurora playing with that knowledge do take a fight where many others may not be able to in such a short amount of time.
This gold shield for Aurora and
い
having
や強いねゴー
minimal
ルドシール
syringes
ド。あとただ
will give
13
them
秒
the
でアンチが
ability
閉
to
まっちゃうから
rotate through the outskirts and jump
それだけが
out
心配だ
of the
ね。
choke point south of fragment. And even if you want to rotate that
さあこ
shield
の試合は多分
throughout
下位
the
チームが
team
結
to
構ファイトを
enable
仕
the
掛け
most
て
out of the
ポイントを
syringes you
稼ごう
have.
と
But
してるね。ただ
let's
そうな
check
る
in
と
with
結果
GG.
み
We
んな
know
食い合
they
っちゃっ
took
て
this
大量ポイ
space
ントになら
early
ないってい
on
う
in
ね。
the game, but Game of
すごい
Thrones
ジレンマに
wants
なるん
a
だよね。
piece of it. Now can they hold the rooftop coexisting? You have SMS and Vex on the right side as well. But
GG は
Vex is
初動で
pretty
取った
deep
位置
into
をひたすら
Epi
キー
and
プし
not
て、あやっぱりあ
necessarily
そ
going
こア
to
ン
make
チ
a
がその
real
辺になっ
play
た
for
ね。
this.
I know we get a lot
さあ
of
鮮
trash
度はど
talk,
こ入るどこ
and
入る
that's
クリプトで見る暇あった
much
か
to my
見る暇な
entertainment
かった
all
っぽい
around
な
the Apex scene, but for
どこ
now,
も取れない
as you say, living side by
一旦
side
この
with each
隙間
other peacefully does
あ
seem to
二
be
人か
the
そっかそっか
best move. Ascend,
二人は
hoping
無
they
理だ
can
な
get in on that sweet deal. Unfortunately,
あーそっちからも来
lose
たのか
Kashera
うん
and
どうしようもなかったね
Vortex come in for the
ああ
punish.
もう
Vortex said, "Hey, we
カシャラ結構ね
want to make a play for the top of the leaderboard
あ
today.
カシャ
We're
ラ先
sitting
出た
in
のか
third and just add some KPs. Look who has finally made their way out of zone. It's going to be Aurora. They need a little bit of
結構早
time
めに
to
諦める
stabilize
性質
before
あるけど
engaging with the
今回は
teams
違
in
った
front of
ね
them. But
ルフ
you
かの方
have to think. We saw this happen with Checkpoint, right? 6 to 7
さあ
teams had
GG は
found
キルポが
themselves
ね
inside that
コンスプ
POI
を
knowing
全
they
然稼
needed
げて
to
ないか
get
ら
out. So, who was going to
キルポをちょっ
prioritize
とでも
the
欲し
end
いよ
game,
ね
or who's going to go for KP here?
Game and Gladiators certainly looking for the KP is up on height. They have every opportunity to pick off these individual members, but Aurora are the ones doing it? Aurora, who barely made it into the
マジ
zone
オーロ
on
ラ
time,
オーロラ
are
ちょっと
cleaning
や
up
りすぎ
another
じゃない
squad and turning right onto
オ
Vortex
ーロラ
as
ちょっと
well.
やりすぎ
They
問
haven't
題
lost a member yet, but ANC outplayed. They are gone for good in game number 5.
あ
Not going to
GG
get my
ワンピ
hopes up just yet, but everything that Aurora is doing is
ハードデッ
Aurora
キという名の
of
ハード
the
ウィック
split
何
one
家庭カツラっ
that
てこ
we
と
needed. They know they're
家庭
going
カ
up
ツラっ
with
て
their
ことハー
backs
ドウィック
against
っ
the
て
wall, and they've got to make something happen. Health within an inch, a mere
外れないカ
25
ツラ
HP for Sunset. One of them
さ
going
あ
down.
キルも
Gaming
取られて
Gladiators
ただ
with
上
the
から
cheekiest
上
of
落ちちゃ
angles
ったん
from
か
the
な
high ground.
あでも
This
バルだから
shows you
落ちたっ
why
てことはないか
ultimate high ground is everything in Apex.
Leogra is not
IGL
messing
を失った
around, and even
GG
during
は
those
どうす
final
る
moments where
次
Aurora
のア
were
ンチ
looking
バルいない
so
から飛べな
good,
いぞ
their
絶望だなバルい
positioning
ないから飛べねえじゃ
still
ん
bit them.
きつ
Game and Gladiators having
日本
such
ビーコ
an
ンあったらワン
incredible
チャン回
angle
収して起
from
こしたいけど
above so as to
それも無
punish
理
that
そう
squad, despite the fact that they
絶望だね
are just two
もうあ
people
れだね
left alive.
もうこの辺全部やるしか
no
ないね二
longer
人でね
forming part
移
of
動は
this
絶対無理
roster during the course of this game.
まあカタリストいるから
Relatively
いやでも
unrecoverable
無
as
理だ
well.
な
A big
舞台数
problem
多
as
すぎ
we
るな
look towards this next zone, where Game and Gladiators have no Valkyrie to move them
そうノー
forward.
バルキリーなのよ
Hear me out, Dia.
オ
Your
ーロラ
first
は
cast on
さすがに
ALGS.
さすがに追い出しすぎて
Ardeki
やられ
in
た
epicenter.
いやー
Ardeki
いい
is
やるや
down.
ん
So now Artico and Leogri are going to be the ones that need to clutch it up for the
さあ
game
どうや
and
って移動
Gladiators.
する
But let's talk about something that was in the crafter. The Moby. There's a
さあ
good chance you
SMS
might
と
find one, but you
か
don't
ぶ
have
る
any time to check
ジ
the
ブ
boxes. And SMS, Morningstar's not
た
going to
だ
allow them to get out.
VCGO が
Is
こ
that
れ
a
を
Gibraltar on my screen?
あーもう全部
Unfortunately, it's not a
全部
Gibraltar
取れ
for
ちゃう
too much longer
全部
as
取れちゃった
Morningstars go down, but a
そ
quick
こに
little wrench thrown into the plans of anybody trying to leave a fragment peacefully, and that includes Vortex, who are right next door. They lose one, and with Robin down, perhaps this is recoverable, but they need to find a way to cover this. Mobies, as you talk about, going to be super important now that we're in an end game with no real respawn beacons left. J-Lings hold the last one up on height by the little pit stop we've got for our train.
ベクストがいい位置取れてるね。ベクストはまあ世界大会ほぼ格だからいろいろ、だからコースティックバルジブを試してんだな。あ、いやー、燃えすぎ燃えすぎ燃えすぎ燃えすぎ。そうだね、多分世界大会に向けた構成を試してるね、ベクストは。いいジブですね。いいジブラルタルですね、あなた。そしていいカバーですね、あなた。
Absolutely gorgeous use of the Gibraltar there, waiting things out, using Tyler's caustic to cover them on the reset. Bitfix Gaming can do nothing in the face of these chunky lads, and Vexed Gaming moves to the top 6.
Well, 2/3 of Meat Mountain looking really nice. They're just missing Newcastle. If you don't know what Meat Mountain is, it's Newcastle, Gibby, Caustic, and it's a meme squad, and always an interesting time when people drop into ranked with that. But this is ALGS, this is another story. And Vex is limit testing for land, but Check has a beautiful gun spot, and we've seen them play this particularly before, and it's going to be tough, but you do have the high ground. This is a playable area, and Kinda is going to find such success here with the jetpacks.
And Horizon is an integral part of being able to play this height effectively as well. Swinny taking a quick second in the face of Vex, but during this next zone close, it is going to be all about how E6 manage the lines of sight that actually have access to the top of this rock. Vex waiting on their own rotation, playing things slow and avoiding some fire of their own, are starting to set up in the near corner of the zone that is allowed for them. With these caustic barrels, it may very well be enough.
ゼロナッシングどこだっけ？パッション。
is really laying the land here. You see Vortex go on just the south side of E6.
エレメント6が一生上から。ただ結構車線ときつい。結構車線きつい。うわー痛すぎ。うわー痛マジ。その位置で死ぬんだ。ベクストの車線やばかったね。
This is where we talked about managing your line of sight being so important. E6 make one critical mistake and it fells all three members with, as you said, very little that you can do in the face of it. Vortex may go down as well. They've already lost one with Robin being well in time down. But Vex recognize that weakness and the damage they've already done. Taking out EQ and looking for the next. Vortex 3 squads remain and 2/3 of Meat Mountain keep on pushing forward.
しかもアンチ的に J リングとゼロがパッションが当たりそう。
No one should be worried about Vex unless you're playing them in the lobby, and J-Lings has been holding position, trying to defend it. Nag's going to have to step back, hit that bat. It's going to take 5 seconds for him to get back into the fight. And JMW, the lone Watson, jets back into the RV. The safety by the interceptor pylon. And now you turn your attention. His passion is eliminated to a Vexed J-Lings fight.
いやなるほどね。あっちがもう今やったら範囲を狭いと読んで。そうこういう時は詰めちゃっていいんだよね。ああすごい。あれキャラコンやばくね。なんで今知らんかった。やばいビッグゲームすぎるぞベクスト。15キルですってさ皆さん。えぐいっすね。ボルテックス、LCDF、ちょっとオーロラやばいんじゃない？オーロラめっちゃキルしなかった？だって1、2、3、4、5、6、7、まだ21人中11人倒してるってことでしょ？やばすぎ。順位どうですか？うわベクスト一気に上げてきた。多分さっきまで右側いたのに一気にベクストが3位までゴン上がってきて、アセンドがボルテックスに巻かれたと。いやここでも上位4チームはラストの試合で全然からね5ポイント圏内 やオーロラあんだけやってやっぱ12ポイントが足りず11。まあ上位4チームと5位以内をこの辺が取っていきたい。いやこれ A か B か C か乗せてほしい。まあ何はともあれ最終試合やっぱアセンドベクスタ強いね。レッツゴー。さあ最終試合 A が初動かぶせとかは特にはしてないと。めっちゃフラグメントじゃん。これはフラグメントの真ん中もしくは南の線路のどっちかかな。真ん中もしくは南の線路。わあでもあとたまにこの辺の家とかあるんだよな。
The approach that I'm thinking, I look immediately towards Vexed at Lava Siphon, who are going to have a lot of information. You have the choke point north of them, but look at the right side. You have the team in Geyser. There's 2 teams in Lava City and Big Mod. You have to make sure that if you are going to find that rotation, you clear out that right side.
このコース普通に強いからなんか普通に強すぎても強くねえみたいなイメージになってるけど普通に強いんだよな。
Because their rotation
でラバ
will
最
be a
後の
little
チーム
bit
が使ってる
easier,
でしょ。
landing dead center of the map. They've already, in fact, gotten the opportunity to scan for where this ring is going, so they know that it's going to be dead center over by Fragment and have plenty of opportunity to lock in their own position, especially with the Caustic, who is nearly impossible to push. As long as Vex get there early, they're looking good.
The last thing I want to do in Fragment is push a building in which a Caustic has already gas trapped the entirety of. So you're playing Gibby Caustic. Which building do you want in Fragment?
Ooh, that one's tough. I think that you have a lot of options. It really depends on where you think the zone is going first and foremost. But I don't mind any of the spots surrounding the northern corner of Market or just south of Streamer Building. Both of those very tight chokes, and we'll see what Vexed, of course, opt into. Is right now it does look like they want to play a little bit more Streamer Building centric.
Taking a look with Kella Gaming, currently 15th overall in the day. They're using the passive to try and determine where they want to go. And Vex knows what they want. They've already found 2 knocks onto Morning Stars, and they're going to be able to clean them up a little. Insult to Industry with the melee going down. And of course, Matape has the Gibraltar heirloom as Morning Stars has fallen.
いやそうガス光線強いところはこれ建物をね奪えちゃうんだよねガスで。これがね、まあジブもそうだね、ジブも建物の敵に対してドームを入って孤立したやつ潰せるから。いやそうなんだよね。これがね、ワールドゼッチにおいて強いよね。この構成は。一周回った感あるな。メタが一周回って帰ってきた感ある。
But also one where they have a lot more autonomy, being able to peek out on this roof and start to take part in fights that will happen surrounding them over the course of the next 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
I've been very impressed with Jayling's ability to call the zones here today. They have nearly guaranteed themselves a position for split 2 land, and I feel that they are getting comfortable and just excelling on that team cohesion that we keep talking about.
もう一回同じことやってチャンピオン取りたいね。
Sitting on 2 purples and a gold, benefiting from, dare I say, streamer loot? No, I'm just kidding. Dare I say that? No, that's what you want to see. But Dark Veil coming out from Cleave, incoming missile swarm, trying to navigate that. They need to play a little more conservatively because they got a lot of kind of discipline from that, right? This is what we need. Typically, they would not necessarily take this fight to the best of their abilities, but over the past 3 maps, something is changing.
It's changing for the better, for certain. Cleave on the disengage with the wall, managing to escape, but most notably, Sunset forcing the team on high ground to take a quick reset. You're not allowed to push Aurora for free. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, and for many teams, it's simply not going to be worth it. Ascend actually putting up a similar story now that they've got some Watson fences that do send a very similar message to any teams in the immediate vicinity. You don't want to try and push us because it's going to be very annoying to do.
Ascend fencing up that
場所
choke
取りです
point.
ね。さすがですね、頭
That is
さん。
something to behold, but it was game of drones that was poking towards Aurora and have now found themselves on the land side, same things. I can only imagine if you're going to take some shots at Aurora with Rondon. Look, we talk about the charge rifle all the time, but this is disgusting. You are looking for the cheesiest angle I have ever seen in my life, and I love this for you.
Game of Drones got to do it. They haven't had the hottest day, just starting to peak up a little bit on World's Edge, but their journey into it has been far from comfortable, and this is their last match day of the regular season. They're sitting in 21st place right now on the border of relegation, and cheese it up, my man, because you need the points.
It's always fun in games when you have a charge rifle in your hand, but the moment someone starts charging you, it gets personal. And now a team is nearby Valk ulting, and it's personal for Cleve.
めっちゃ分かれた。めっちゃ分かれた。
It certainly is. I believe that's Game of Drones just passing on over from the landslide area, not choosing to walk it through in this tunnel that Aurora did have complete control of. Start a fight actually got landed on, and now they get to try and turn things around, but Lackey goes down. The communications coming in clutch. Light's got a clutch, and he doesn't manage to. His Game of Drones from the Valkyries take the fight convincingly against Asaya.
ただこれオーロラ
Talk
来る
about
ぞ。
the reaction time that has to come from that, but Aurora is here with vengeance. They are sick of being
おかしいおかしいおかしいおかしい。
beautiful knock on to Torj. What an immense battle from the Titans
いや、あんなん
of
できん
Split
だったら俺も
One.
やりてえよ。
My man takes him down in the air.
やばい
You
今
still
の。
have one member left.
じゃあ落下中に腰打ちで。
Get to continue moving on.
あんなまっすぐ飛ぶもんですか、
Rather,
フラットライン
Game
っ
of
て。
Drones get to continue moving on, seeing if they can rat out some points. 16 squads left. 15th is where the placement points really do start kicking in. And
驚きです。
Aurora
驚き
cement
を隠せま
themselves
せん。
in this building with relative ease.
さあ。
Ooh,
レイスの
Wraith
ポー
portal
タルで
coming
また
out. This is what you
ま
like
た
to see,
戦闘
right?
しに
We
行ってる
talk
多分こ
about
の人た
those
ち。
micro rotations that have now almost turned into more
音の鳴る
macro
方へ。
rotations for endgame with the doubling of Wraith's portal. And speaking to the Aurora of old, one of their first compositions, whether it was on Storm Point or World's Edge, they were one of the first teams to break out Wraith, right? Wraith had such an impact on the earlier seasons of ALGS back in the day, I shall say, but now is coming back to fruition, and with the improvements to her
逆
kit,
にキルポを
I
稼い
need
でおきたい
this.
かアンチ外
Wraith
で。
went criminally undervalued during our first couple
まあ
of
ファイ
weeks
ト
of the
が
split
多い
as
っていうのは
well.
部隊
Teams
数からわかるから、
choosing not to
だ
run
と
her
したら
because she
外
was
ムー
fun,
ブが
but
刺
she
さるん
felt
じゃないかっ
weak.
ていう
And
読みなの
that
か
is absolutely not the
一生追
case,
ってってるよね、
especially
敵を
in
ね、多分。
rings like this, where buildings are so much more present. In metas like this, where charge rifles are constantly aimed at innocent Valkyries just trying to find a position in zone, Wraith can get you to places that other legends simply
この
cannot
中は見
possibly
えないけど
do.
大丈夫か
Vortex
見え
make
てない
their
けど大丈夫
way
か
in, using the Valk,
いない
this time unpunished,
ちょっと
but that's going to be the
賭けだった
last time this game that anyone gets away with this for free.
And the fact that you
これ
bring
真ん
that
中な
up,
り
we
そうだな。
talk about the Valk
フラグメント。
rotations late game. That's why a lot of pros have been electing to utilize Wraith instead of Valk.
真ん中になり
Because
そう。
of the charge rifle, because of,
橋ね、
dare I
橋
say,
近
the
く。
ramparts that we'll later
あ、
see in North
戦闘シーンいた。
America. Just so many of them.
あれ、
I've
いたよ
seen
ね。
Xset do some disgusting
いな
things
くなって
to
る。え、
eliminate
あれさっきいた
rotations
よ
from
ね。
Valk.
移動したんだ、
We
横に。
really have, and this Valk in particular is pretty darn special. Vortex's Vushi has been one of the biggest cornerstones of the team, and I know that people don't really think about that when they think of Valk. You're thinking, oh yeah, well Seer and Catalyst, they're going to be the really important points, but Vushi is constantly able to find really cheeky angles, position the squad appropriately by using the Valkyrie, and over the course of the split averages 41% of their team's damage. An incredible amount when you realize that there are 3 full other people on the team, or 2 full other people on the team.
の他に
Vushi really is him. I know we talk about a lot of the teams that have their fragger on Valk. You think of Ascend, Lufka, you think of Alliance, that's going to be a fact. Typically, they will find, you said, the cheekiest of angles, just positioning yourself to such success, but it's also being able to navigate your team through the sky and I mean, sometimes this guy could be a drone as well. Let's check in with Kashera.
just constantly scouting out. I do like IGLs that make use of the crypto really frequently because it feels like just the freest way to get the most detailed information possible.
Ooh.
さあ、アン
Let's check
チ
in
が
as we see the zone continuously
フラグメン
moving
トの
more
真ん
towards
中のね
fragment and less of
端付近に
epicenter
なるの
being
か
included
南
in
に寄るのか
V2 holding
注目
that northernmost positioning.
あー、真ん
I
中
think
寄
of
った
that and I look towards Bitfix Gaming
マーケ
and
ット
Bitfix
か
has
も
been
な
a real thorn in the side for a
まあマ
lot
ー
of
ケ
our
ット付
teams
近
here
まあ本
today.
当このど真ん中付近だな
They so often find themselves mirroring other teams on the rotation in, which is
よくあるアン
that
チですね
problem, that thorn in people's side that you're
最近
talking
よくある
about.
アンチだね
Because
今週の
whenever
ワ
you
ールドゼッチは
survive, Bitfix may very well be rotating in behind you. And looking at the map as it is now, that honestly looks like it's going to be happening again, specifically to
さあ、ちょっと
V2,
読
who
みが
find
外れた
themselves
から
up on the height right next to Bitfix. The clearest, cleanest, best
ト
rotation
ーテムをやる
for
おいやめっちゃいい
Bitfix would
今
happen
今
successfully
今
there,
やばかった
and
やばかっ
yet
た
see how it works out as other fights are starting to break out in
99やばかった
fragment, more
今
specifically onto A and C
やばいオーロ
outplayed
ラが
who hold a
オ
wonderful
ー
position.
ロラがえぐい
Aurora
ことしてる
off-screen
チャーライ
is
でえぐいこ
completely
としてる
annihilated to R1C that had their last showing here today being
ツアルア
from
ンシ
Group
は
A
多分
and LCDF has
狙われ
moved
て逃げたところ
into
チャー
a
ライされ
building
たな
as well to find the remnants of a previous fight and trying to
LCDF が
anchoring
ポイント
their
をちょっとず
space
つ
here
戻してい
in
く
Fragment.
And
ただ
Fragment
緊迫
that
さ
is
れたかったね
increasingly pulling up towards them. The Seat of France
と
have
溜
the
め
benefit
て
that this is going towards that sort
さあ
of
ビッグスター奪い
market
取った位置を
area
ずっ
in
とキープ
Fragment, and
強いね
market specifically very difficult to hold down. Vexed opted into streamer building early. They're likely going to have to cross a bridge or use a Valcult to make their way into the ring. J-Links are starting to hold the bridge right next to Vexed, but all focus goes towards now Broken Building and Market as being the most powerful positions in these next two zones.
I feel as if Vex Gaming right now are the loot goblins of Fragment. They're just rolling through all the syringes and shield cells that they have, and the double seer exhibit is absolutely disgusting right now for train station. It's how do you approach this? Psycho, utilizing Bangalore to the best of their abilities with the Digi threat. You smoke out your opponents, you cover the distance with Digis, and you know, we usually see Digi threats all over the place. They're not in crafting, and I almost feel as if the spawn rate has been nerfed, but it still feels as if when a Bangalore needs a Digi, they get it.
It's something about manifesting your own destiny. You pick Bangalore, and the game does respect it to a level. Now, that's going to be difficult, even with smokes, even with Digis, to take fights like this because of, well, actually, that exact cooldown. The bubble goes out, giving Vex the opportunity to peek forward. And again, they are in a position where shotguns are really nice if you want to try and push up onto Vex, who almost lose a member on the retreat.
No, this is going to be really scary. Gaming Gladiators was inside of train and lost out on 2 of their members. It's just Leogri alive. And they're on the precipice with 12th place coming into today. Vex Gaming is able to enact all of the judgment on the teams around them. You want to peek me? We'll take it.
建物がすごいやっぱそうだね
expertly
そこなんですね
on that head peek. You do have to wonder, minute 40
さあ
left.
東がベクストが一番アンチに近いから早めに取って裏をカットしたいって感じになります多分それを見越してのここだろうね最終的に最終アンチを読めてて
well, but Vexed will have to fight with so many other squads for control of this bridge.
Foot Esports, they were 14th on the day and 10th overall in the Series 4 Split 2. They have been eliminated. Gaming Gladiators, another team on the come up, needing to finalize their position for LAN. Also eliminated. And Vortex, second overall on the day, coming off a match day number 7 win, are doing everything to take over and get themselves a position in the top 10. Now, that's not necessary, right? They were originally focusing on just making regional finals, and now they're taking it another step.
Things are about to get so much more intense over the next minute. There's 45 seconds until the zone closes. Teams like these are going to have to relocate, and it's a difficult move to make, knowing that there's very little cover. Respawn beacon available as a playable area, but Reply Totem trying to just brute force their way past the caustic Gibraltar of Vext, and they lose one on the way. Sherp goes down, and Vext don't even focus on it. Unlucky, in fact, on a slightly different pace from the rest of the team. Tries to push forward, finishing that kill, but is going to get quick rezzed by Matafe, as we've got Bitfix Gaming, the thorn in the side of so many, starting to push in.
But that was an impeccable reset, utilizing the bubble, placing a Nox gas trap to block the door. But Bitfix is going to have to work a little bit harder if they want to get towards Vext, because now Unlucky is hitting that full reset and is ready to take on. But Bitfix has taken to the skies and is rotating forward ahead of Vext.
And they're going to take this fight up against Totem instead, giving, I want to say, I hate to say, Vext another opportunity where it says their chances are running low. An unfortunate end for them as they run face first into 3. But Lucita Prince, they reset. Meanwhile, Vex start to push up once again onto Totem, crippled from before, and now a very difficult spot with the bubble right at their doors. We haven't even seen the defensive bombardment come down yet, but Reply Totem will not live to watch it.
Tyler does have the caustic ult available to them. Jaylings was the team to eliminate Reply Totem. We look at the teams alive. We still have Aurora. We still have Vortex. And we have a disgusting fragment zone. Jaylings is poised to perfection on the right side, utilizing the fences and the interceptor pylon from Watson to take space. They can poke and then they can regen up to 250 HP with the generator before they have to withstand or maybe pop down a new one.
They've just done such an amazing position. We've seen it for the past 2 rings, honestly. Jaylings have perfectly predicted where they need to end up, and now it's just a matter of holding it. That matter shouldn't even be that difficult, given the fact that they've now got Watson fences around the inside, the generator to protect them from nades. This should be an easy top 2 finish for Jaylings, and I say should be, because we've yet to see what Vext will bring to the table.
Well, thinking about Vext, I'm also curious what's happening with Aurora and co on the outside of the ring. Vext is going to have to walk this in across the bridge, and Jaylings will be disciplining them for trying to make this rotation happen. You have to go on the underside, because if you peek your head out, Jaylings is going to say, I'm there. See where Aurora is on the underside of that? There's so much open area, and there's 2 teams kind of to the left of them, and they need to make sure that you push down and go freely, but V2 is making their move.
ジェイリンがそれを許したくないけども他の作戦もあるから、できるだけ同居させないようにね。
As V2 get punished immediately by ANC outplayed at this point. Even these small moves are not safe to make, and Nags is really punishing Bitfix Gaming. Go down, a charge rifle not giving them a chance. ANC outplayed, meeting their fate. 7 squads left.
Circle is closing in, and Aurora is making a play for LCDF and the remnants of V2, but look who's on the far right side. Element 6, they're still going to have to walk up onto that. Vext can play this area, and they're going to do it really well, being able to utilize the Nox traps and play it forward. You can see the defensive bombardment about to come out, but checking with E6, 3rd overall on the day, kinda has already found some success towards Aurora and members of LCDF, but their attention is split, Dia.
エレメント6の位置が多分一番強いかな。ああ、さあジェインがベクスト潰しに行った。こういうムーブはあんま海外だとないな。あんまない海外だと。こういうムーブは。ただまあ論理的に考えたら結果後々邪魔になるからやっとこうってのは正しい判断なんだけど、思いっきりがやっぱ。
Incredibly challenging to make that happen, but Nags was able to get a fin so far, just wasting all of the gas traps. It is Tyler who's going to utilize more gas traps and get a reset. Sears in the meta, baby, they're not gonna let that happen.
いや、開始やば。
Perfectly timed interrupts, and that's from 2 squads as well. Jaylings are watching this like hawks and should be able to finish this off. Actually, very nearly finding themselves in an overextension position, and that's the tough thing about this. But Sierra Q cooldown is long, and on the inside, Tyler's still just fine, picking up some of these hopefully, knockdowns and putting himself in a good position. 4 squads left. Every placement point counts. And Matape no longer forming part of this. I believe we've got that knockdown shield broken. And now it is just a matter of a quick swing. Not unlucky. Gonna go down and Vex. They're gone as J-Link still continue to reign supreme. Who can actually challenge this squad?
You look at what's left, and we've got Element 6. They survived the chaos between LCDS and Aurora, but J-Link is proving to be such a dominating factor. E6 has turned their attention to eliminating telegaming, so once again, J-Link has found themselves in a position to make this a game for them to lose, but E6 has the grab lift. They're taking to the skies, and they are going to rain down from above K-Fleet with some significant damage.
ウルト投げたらおしまいだな。もういらない。
That's the first frag. That's the drop from E6 as they recognize weakness and they capitalize on it. E6 in a 2 versus 1 will take another game today and they will end it on a win.
ちょっとでもこっちよりと建物がマーケット側がね最強なんだよね。いやエレメント6はワールドエッジめちゃめちゃ持ったね。21ポイント。いやあれアセンドが1ポイントだからエレメント6大逆転1位だ。最後の21ポイントで巻いた。アセンドがめっちゃ落ちた。ベックスとボルテックス J リングめっちゃ頑張った。最終順位というかさあ残ってるのが B と C だね。いやベクスト強いなベクストキルやばいな。まあでも107だからアライアンスファイヤービーバーズが残り1試合残ってるからベクストが A と C どっちか忘れたけどもそれによっては逆転してもあり得る。でもやっぱ上位チームは強えな。いやだってほらここもあれだね。ヨーロッパも APAC ノースと似てきたね。この上位7チーム8チームぐらいのマジ強層安定してポイント取ってる層とたまにこけちゃってでも強い時は強いこの70点80点層ともう90点台乗る予想でここに実力のラインが引かれてるね。 APAC ノースと一緒だ。この実力のラインがねなければないほど地域としては強いんだけどね。ここの上位チームはもう世界で通用するチームっていう証拠ですね。はいというわけで残りですね試合としては EMEA6 試合 NA があと12試合残ってその後リージョンファイナルなので、これはね明日以降早くから配信できたら一気に2個12試合分見るかもしれないし、無理そうだったらね明日6試合で明後日12試合見るかな。多分そんな感じになると思います。では今日も配信ありがとうございました。また次の配信でお会いしましょう。最後にチャンネル登録高評価ぜひぜひよろしくお願いします。ではまた会いましょう。バイバイ。